All right, ladies and gentlemen, we said we were going live, so here's the live stream for Justice League, the Snyder Cut. We're going to talk spoilers, and we're going to be in this thing as much as possible. So here we go, talking about this movie. Let's get into it. Uh, this is a spoiler-filled discussion on Zack Snyder's Justice League. I am Christ, I am disciple, and this is long overdue. We're gonna be running this session for quite a while. So hang tight, hang tough, and here we go with this. This is gonna go for quite a while. All right. Now, first of all, if you want to join this program as a guest, just click the link that you see right there in the chat area, and we can get this bubbling. Um, we got, I put out in the community section, I guess you guys might have seen the notice talking about the topics we're going to do chapter by chapter. We're going very deep into detail. So this stream could go for 4 hours. It could even go for much longer than that. So get ready. Hold on to your horses. This is going to be a wild ride. We're going into it, right? I was just watching the movie actually. I was up to I just I was somewhere in chapter. I think I'm in chapter 4 with the change machine. So that's where I actually am at. But we're gonna get into this. We definitely gonna get into this. Damian Anton Vincent, what's up, my brother? Hold on a second. Damian Anton Vincent is now added to the stream. What's up, man?
I'm fine, thank you, sir. Nice, good to be
All
here.
right.
See, let
Yes,
me
it's
let me
very good
let
to
me
see
jump
you,
on the
man.
stream.
Yeah, man.
Nice,
Yeah, man.
man.
So we basically going through this thing in some serious detail because you know me, I like a lot of detail.
Yeah,
So
I
when we go into
realize.
Zack, so when we go into Zack Snyder's Justice League, we about to go deep into this thing, right?
Yeah,
And of course, we're going to acknowledge also that it was a lot of hard work by the movement and by Zack Snyder, by the team of people, by HBO
yes,
Max, Jason Keeler,
exactly.
you know, all these people actually made this possible because where everybody was saying it was not possible, it was really a combination of the fans, the creators, and
Yeah,
also um, management or leadership in Warner Brothers Media that made this possible. So we are just so happy that we're getting this cut. I just was watching the cut just now, but I also watched some Man of Steel this morning, and I took a little smidgen of BVS into the mix. So we got some things. I'm not obviously. I just want people to come through and talk because on this occasion with this particular stream, which I hope that you also get to stream this somewhere, whether it's on Twitter or whatever. In this particular stream, we're talking about Zack Snyder's Justice League in terms of the chapters, in terms of the tragedy that happened that allowed this to happen,
yeah.
and many more things. All right, so we're going to go into it in much detail. But first of all, my question to you, Damien Anton Vincent, since you're the first person on this chat stream, how much did you enjoy Zack Snyder's Justice League? How
Man,
much? Come on,
it,
let out.
it was like you know. It, I had to give this description. It's like you remember the wedding in the Bible in the New Testament where the with the
Right.
old wine and the new wine.
Yes,
Right.
sir.
This is the new wine and it intoxicated. It's so good, but it intoxicated and people understand how this thing is because it elevates the other two movies, right? And man, I just it just certain characters, they you feel for them, you know, you know. Even imagine that even who sassy one woman said I will talk, and but you still feel for him. You just wanna come home. You know, right? But
Exactly.
as I said it earlier, I mean, it's like the new is like the old Justice League movie was the old wine, and this Justice League Zack Snyder Justice League is the new wine. And
You
it's
know,
so good. You know,
as you said, old wine and new wine. Hear this scene. You had the old gods, and then you had the new gods.
New
You dig what
Gods.
I'm saying?
Yes.
Old wine, new wine.
Yeah.
We'll go into in great detail. But yeah, I love that. I love how you say that this version of Justice League was like the new wine in many
Yeah.
respects. I definitely could deal with that because there's several different things to that, but it's almost like where people talk about the Last Supper, the new wine. I feel like that's the same kind of idea right there. You know what I'm saying?
Okay.
Because it's like, think about it. If you think of the apostles and Jesus, how Jesus poured himself on the apostles, you know what I'm saying? And Peter took that
Yeah.
and ran with it. Well, I see that's how Superman poured the hope into Batman, and that filter out into the other followers now, the other guys.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? But it was half a dozen instead of a dozen. But it's still cool. You know what I'm saying? But yeah,
Yeah.
going back to this. So you enjoyed this immensely,
Oh boy, I I have to space it out because I watch it once. I'll watch it
right?
next weekend because I as much
Okay.
as people will watch it like one after the next, I can't do things like that,
Yeah.
especially with movies that I like. I'll get fed up.
Right.
I need to
Right.
space it out. Yeah,
Right. Well, I understand because I was looking at it, but I didn't watch at it. Well, because I was busy also yesterday, I was moving around and stuff, so I
yeah,
didn't see it much. It's just little pieces and snippets of it, and I was watching people's reaction to it and stuff. But
yeah,
then this afternoon, just before I go to do this, about 2 or 3 hours before I was watching it, but I was actually watching BVS and Man of Steel, and I was watching some breakdowns on Man of Steel, and there's things in Man of Steel that is in Justice League. I mean, oh man. So anyway, we're taking our time. We're going to dissect this thing really nicely. I'm just ask you this: how are you feeling today,
yeah. Well,
physically?
I feel much better. The
All right, cool.
ease of the flu is not as I'm feeling much better.
Great. So before I continue onwards, let me see what's going on in the chat section. Anybody in nobody in the chat yet, but that's
Oh,
okay.
okay.
We're going to go through now. We're going to start at one time. We're going to go through the chapters. So the first chapter that we go through with this movie, and again, we're going to explore three different things, right? We're
Yeah,
going to look at the chapter in terms of the actual progression of the story and how that may overlap with what would happen later on in the story. We're also going to
yeah,
look at the chapter in terms of spirituality. And then the third one is we're going to look at the chapter in terms of the character and their growth, right? So those three
yeah,
things. How that chapter plays out later on in the story, the characters grow. All of these are intermingling, right? How the
yeah,
character develops and grows, and then how the spirituality of it, right? So we're gonna look at it like that way. So chapter one was "Don't Count on It, Batman," which you see
yeah. Don't go
scrolling
to
across
that
the screen.
Batman.
Right, and we all know that was Aquaman who said that to Batman. But
Yeah,
how that chapter begins, all right, well, not before that chapter begins, we open with the death of
the death of
Superman.
Superman. Yeah,
Yeah, that's almost like one of the guys in the Snyder Cut movement talk about his favorite movie of all time is The Passion of the Christ. The
yeah,
Passion of the Christ, and that's interesting because Zack Snyder began this movie in a similar sort of vein, but just using now the archetype, which would be Superman, right?
yeah,
And what does he begin with, though? He begins with the impaling of both Superman and Doomsday. Yeah? So Why did he begin with that? Why do you think? And a three-dimensional sort of view as well. He was swiveling around both of them. Why did he begin with that? I noticed the lightning and the thunder. I noticed all the flashes
Well,
of lightning and thunder
well,
around them.
from what I saw with the opening, right? You saw the song when he screams, right? But even
Right.
before that,
Yes.
you saw the perspectives of Wonder Woman, Batman,
Right. Right.
and
Louis Lane. Louis
Louis
Lane.
Lane, right?
Yeah.
But it's one of the few times you actually get to see Batman show a bit of emotion. You see, like his eyes begin to get glassy, like
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
tears wanted to full up. He wanted to tears full up his eyes. You know, I
Right.
mean, it was really an emotional scene. But
Yes. Lord.
also too, you saw Superman's cries with the song waves going
Right.
out,
Right.
and those song waves going out woke you started to wake up the mother boxes,
Correct.
right?
Wake up one. It wake up one mother box. The others went to sleep, but the one in Atlanta and Atlantis, not in Atlantis. What I'm talking about. The one in Themyscira, that one stayed awake.
Yeah, right.
Yeah.
And and the cry, it was so it was so sorrowful,
Mm.
and
And
that
remember, Lex Luthor also saw the mother boxes. At simultaneously, he saw the mother box awaken, and he saw this the image of Steppenwolf as it was forming.
yeah,
I thought it was
he
very
was
interesting as well.
communicating with Steppenwolf at the same time while he while that was taking place, and like
Yeah.
he was happy,
Yeah.
because he have control, he about that control and order, right? Everything must be under his control, you know, rat bastard. That Lex Luthor, I don't like him at all,
I don't
right? I
like him
mean,
either, but I
Jesse
fear him.
Eisenberg play him so good that my wife don't even like to watch him because of how good he played that role.
Yeah, 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 yeah. He was really good. He was
I
really good.
mean, devious,
Yeah,
from
man.
that.
So
I,
I want to dial it back a little bit
yeah,
to when Superman is dying. Why would
right.
Zack pick to have that again? That moment of that's the moment where both people are impaled. And remember, he likes King Arthur, right?
Yeah,
Excalibur.
it's I think is that has to do with King Arthur and Mordred, right?
Yes,
The King Arthur movie, right, where
yes,
Mordred impaled King Arthur, and King Arthur held the spear,
that's right.
pulled himself in, and impaled Mordred,
Yes,
right?
and I put it to you this way.
Yeah,
I also see it as the classical. If you ever watch, you remember this is above and below. Remember Zack Snyder always uses above and below themes, and you do remember Lex Luthor with the you saw the angels from heaven, Michael and his archangels
yeah,
stabbing down at Satan, and Satan was
yeah,
falling. Remember that? All right.
yeah,
So think of Doomsday as the devil, like Lex Luthor said.
yeah,
If man can't do it, the devil will do it. So
yeah,
in two strokes, just like with Jesus, is a kind of archetype again. Just like how when he died on the cross and he was impaled in the cross, when he died
yeah,
and they pierced his side, it's just like if the devil get pierced because it's a double attack because he just
yeah,
ransom and free people. Similarly, Superman impales the devil, which is Doomsday, while Doomsday is inflicting damage on Superman. But the difference is Doomsday ain't gonna rise from it, but Superman will. So I always
yeah,
watch that spiritual, like Zach, like I said, there's just this weird spiritual thing you keep on seeing with Zack Snyder, and I'm like, what? Damn,
but
that's why I
but
want to interview him. I do.
but the
I
thing
want
is
to
that
find out.
with this one,
Yeah,
when he raising as Superman, it have
right.
serious consequences, as you
Yeah,
saw
yeah.
as you saw
With the
later
mother.
on,
Yeah,
you
yeah,
know.
for sure. Yeah, just it's crazy, man. But the thing about
Yeah.
what I'm saying is, he chose to pick that Excalibur moment
Yeah.
again to, and it wasn't just Lewis' perspective, it wasn't just Batman perspective, it wasn't just Wonder Woman's perspective, it was also Superman's perspective.
Yeah.
Because they zoomed in on Superman, and Superman,
Yeah.
you could see Superman there screaming out.
Yeah.
So it was
And the
very
sound
interesting
waves
because
going out.
remember, yeah, I get the sound waves thing, but I mean him screaming out and look at his face and his eyes. Remember
Yeah.
when he awakened from with the mother box? Remember the last thing he was doing was screaming out. People forget
Yeah.
this. So mentally, that man had to reset because he was in a crisis when he last passed away, and people forget all of this stuff. You know what I'm saying? So,
Yeah.
so I'm
Because
just
he
putting that
last, and the
there
only thing
because
he could probably remember is that he was in some sort of conflict, and he
right,
didn't have time, you know, to gather his when
right.
he resurrected. He didn't have time gather his
Because
bearings.
it's a traumatic event, a very
Yeah.
traumatic event that he was through. So most likely his mind would try and blank it out. You know what I'm saying? And then the
Yeah.
last
That's
thing he
why
remember
I
probably
believe
is
that's why he took him so long
yeah.
to start to the memory start to come back gradually. That's
Right.
why he remember the ring.
Now you ready for some heavy stuff? You ready for some heavy stuff?
Let me go
Eli,
there. Let me
Eli,
go.
sabachthani. Eli, Eli, sabachthani. Jesus screamed out. What Superman do?
Repeat
What
that.
Superman do?
Wait.
Again, Jesus cried out, Eli, Eli, sabachthani. My God, why have you
Oh,
forsaken me? He
oh yes,
cried
yes,
out.
yes, yes, yes.
What did
Yeah.
Superman do?
He scream. He scream out. Yeah.
Okay then,
Yeah.
okay then, okay then. See? See what Zack Snyder doing? See what Zack Snyder doing? I just
Yeah, yeah.
saying.
The yeah. Why have you forsaken me? So
Right, right.
he scream. You know, he
Yes.
screams. You
And
know,
what
it's
happened?
like he's
What
crying
happened
out
after
for
he
help.
screamed? There was a tremendous earthquake and lightning and thunder.
Yeah.
I'm just going through it bit by bit so you can see it for yourself. What happened with Doomsday? What was going on?
Yeah,
Lightning, thunder,
lightning and
earthquake,
thunder. Yeah.
and a big force and energy coming out of Doomsday, chest on his
Yeah.
mouth.
Yeah.
Yeah?
It actually caused an earthquake. It
Yes.
actually caused earth tremors.
Yes. And Superman scream, shake up the whole world. Shake up the whole
Yeah.
world. The whole world was shaken
The
by what
whole
Jesus do
world.
when he died. When Jesus died, the whole world was shaken. In fact,
Yeah.
dead people came out of graves and started walking around. Just saying. All right, so what Zack Snyder is showing, and I just want to show for the Christians out there or people who are just spiritual, he's
Okay.
showing that the energy within Superman is coming out of him and impacting the world, just like how the energy in Doomsday was coming out of him and impacting the world. That's like how the energy in Jesus, what we call the spirit, what we call the life, what we
Yeah.
call the spirit of God came out of him. That's why they say it was water and blood. Blood
Water
is
and blood.
human, water spirit, right? So just breaking it down so y'all will get just where Zack Snyder seemed to be at. I don't know. This thing, like I said before, there's levels to
Yeah.
this thing, and this dude just be cutting every single level. So I look at that. That's why I watch Zack Snyder in a weird way. I'll be like, what? Ninja? Really? Like, really?
Yeah. He went there.
He
He went
went
there.
there. Yeah.
Yes.
You know that The Passion of the Christ was a very risky movie for Hollywood, right? I give
Yeah,
Mel
and
Gibson mad props for that.
yeah, that movie it broke a lot of people, and a lot of people
Yeah.
were upset because of it,
Nobody in Hollywood wanted to fund that. Mel Gibson independently funded that movie, right?
right?
And it
And I think you see
shook up the
the
world.
Jews, the Jews and them were against him for that, and I feel
Yeah, because it's
I always
anti-Semitic.
believe that the Jews and them has something to do with Mel Gibson. I mean, Mel Gibson had his problems before, but it seemed
Right.
like it got worse after
Yeah.
he made that movie.
Yeah, they
And
really ostracized him.
we live in Trinidad.
Yeah.
Trinidad and Tobago, we know how things is run. You
Yeah.
understand when people don't have your back. Let's just put it
Right.
that way.
See, because the game was rigged in a certain way, yeah, man. There's a lot
Yeah,
of. But anyway, I don't want to go into that too much because I want to show you some more beautiful things. Because we even
yeah,
leave the first scene yet. We still talk about Superman and Doomsday
yeah,
connected to each other by stabbing each other, right? So the
yeah.
thing about it is, I just wanted to show you how revolutionary the Passion of the Christ is. And they realized Zack Snyder's movies was going to be revolutionary. And it clearly is, but they didn't want that message to go out there because
No,
a
they
lot
don't
of
want
no, and it doesn't matter if you're a Christian or not, because I could paraphrase this in a different way, right? With I could go to Egyptian hieroglyphics and talk about Horus and
that. Okay.
Seth. Okay, I could go there if I need to, but I'm not going to go there for now. But y'all do your homework and due diligence, and you'll see the very same story. Now, what I'm trying to say is, what I'm trying to say to people is this: Zach is trying to liberate people in his movies. I've seen it in
Yeah.
Sucker Punch. Sucker Punch is one of the most, like, people go in on Sucker Punch like heavy, but the real truth is Sucker Punch is a very, very empowering movie. Very
Let me tell you
empowering movie.
something. I will say, let me interrupt
Okay?
you. Let me interrupt you.
Yes, man. Yes,
I
sir.
I have seen people do some breakdown on Sucker Punch, and I
Yes,
believe
sir.
before this movie, before Zack Snyder's Justice League came out, Sucker Punch is probably Zack Snyder's best movie, and people
Yeah.
sleeping on that,
Highly misunderstood. Yeah, highly misunderstood.
highly misunderstood movie, They don't understand that movie. Even I myself, if people didn't break it down for me, I would not
Yeah, that miss
understand that.
it.
It's
Yeah.
like it is that it basically you had to have you had to be qualified to really pick up what it is you really saying in that movie. You
Or you
understand?
could have just listened to the director talk about his movie and you'd have get
All right, right. But
it.
you
You
know
know what
enough
I'm
other
saying?
people when they
Just pay
break it up
attention.
and the
Yeah.
layers. You talk about the
Yeah,
layers, the
it's a lot of
different
layers. A
layers.
lot of layers. Yeah. And the thing
Could
about it
you
is
imagine?
he's not just going from one genre. He's using anime, he's using
Could you
comic
imagine?
books, he's using yeah.
Could you imagine had Snyder choose to make Snow Steam Iron into a full length movie?
Whoa. I would love to see that. And I know that's his unadulterated feelings on the issue of what happened.
We ain't ready. We ain't
That'd
ready.
be yeah,
We ain't
Hollywood
ready.
wouldn't like him. Hollywood wouldn't
What
like
they
him
would
if he do
like
that.
that because
Nah,
it's
that's
out against the behavior of these people. Those two movies,
exploitation. Again against exploitation. And he did
yeah,
listen, he's done a number of movies against exploitation. If you pay attention, look at the zombie movies, even Dawn of the Dead, right?
yeah,
Yo, Dan, what's up, man? Yeah, don't forget, Dan, you could join as a guest right here. Just click that link and you could join in. We would love to hear from you, man. We would love to hear from you. Yeah, but check for example, right? Like we were saying, Dawn of the Dead. Think about it. Zombies. What he really saying?
yeah.
You know,
That kind of
I ain't trying to be super
a
deep on
one track
anything, but
mind kind of business. At
yeah,
least
brainwash
that
people,
is what I
baby.
get from that.
Brainwash people, and the awakened
Yeah,
ones could get licked up by the brainwashed people. So you understand? And then when you look at so there's a lot of things. 300. What's 300 about? 300 is about, again, people who are underdogs that they ain't supposed to win, but they
yeah.
winning. You see what I'm saying? So Zach, he's
Well,
a
well, if you could split it on the other side, it's a propaganda movie too, if
yeah,
you're
of
looking
course,
at it, it
of
need.
course.
I mean, but I think
But it depends on who's using it for their propaganda. See, that's the thing.
yes. And
So
Even Snyder said that wasn't his intention.
right,
He was just recreating the story from
yes, Frank Miller.
novel, right?
Frank Miller, yeah.
And
Yep.
what it is, and when you look at it at that based from that angle, you
Yeah.
have you have what you you're looking at the when you on the mount when he went up when King Leonidas went up on the mount,
Yeah,
right?
with the supposedly advisors and wise
Right,
men and the
and they was telling him that
wizards.
he can't go to war. But while
Right.
he going back down, them collecting them getting their hand grease. You
Yes,
understand? They
sir.
collecting money,
By the
right?
enemy? By
From
the
the enemy,
enemy? That's right.
right? Which draws me to what is happening currently, right?
Hmm.
Toby Emmerich in a Warner Media forum said, you did you answer?
Yeah, I did. I just turned
Yeah,
it off the screen for a minute.
yeah.
Go ahead.
Toby Emmerich said that Disney will be number one for a long time, and you had to watch that to be you had to wonder, well, why would somebody say something like that? Then you have the wrong with with the different directors, and you have everybody praising that movie 300, but yet Toby Emmerich telling you about how much abandoned scripts that they could have that could have been even better, a better movie. You understand? For somebody who's supposed to be an ally, right? They operated like they operated more like an enemy, you know,
Yeah.
right? They're not seeking your interest. They're always looking to what you are doing, and that is what exactly what these acolytes on the hill what they were doing to
That's right.
shelving the idea of going to war with the
Because
Persians,
it's within
right?
human nature again to want to elevate oneself over others.
Yeah.
And so that's actually a human trait that, and sometimes a human flaw, it depends on how you look at it. It's a human trait that can happen with almost any human being, where people decide that they're going to trade off their position of power for money. They could be bought. You know what I mean? And that's sad. And, Walter Hamada and Tommy Emmerich, though, they have a different perspective on things, clearly. They are people who do not see eye to eye with the vision that Zack Snyder has. It's very clear. It's abundantly clear. And the
You know
resistance
what?
inside of
Let's come back to the movie
DC
because
films. I just
this
know
stream
I'm going back to this.
might
No, this is a
yeah,
good topic, and I feel that this is something we need to talk about. That's why I'm talking about it. Because you
yeah,
started it, and I think you're right. I think that these guys
yeah.
are clearly bought out in terms of their opinion. It not necessarily with money, but definitely their vision for DC and DC films is something which has nothing to do with what they're seeing in front of them.
But
You are
you
seeing
know what the thing
this
is? You know what the
movie.
also thing is? The sad thing about that whole thing. Let me go from Aquaman. All right, Aquaman was a successful movie, right?
Right.
But still, Snyder had input in that, right?
Yes.
Shazam, Shazam, you had a movie like Shazam. Shazam was supposed to make at least 700 million, right? Because it was okay. I mean, I didn't like the fact that Shazam catching the glass, catching bust by the glass and them kind of thing. That foolishness, right?
To be honest with you, I haven't watched Shazam in its completeness yet. I just kind of watched little bits, and I was like, yeah, well,
Right.
that's my entertainment. I'm sorry, that's just the way
That
it is.
my point being is that movie because it was what the doctor ordered, what is they wanted. That movie should
Right.
have made at least 700 million. But you know what they did?
How much it made?
They
Five
left it
hundred.
between. They left it between Captain Marvel and Endgame.
Okay.
And that was the first screw up, right? At least I
What
should
what
say
I want to
that
know is what I want to know though is how much it made. How much it made at the box office. Just
it
asking.
made about 300 million,
Ah, okay. That's not much money. I mean,
right?
it probably has a small
300
budget,
million,
so it didn't really hurt too bad. But
right?
again, listen, and they tried
It
to
made
tie
a
to Zack
profit,
Snyder.
huh?
What's his name? The director,
Sandberg, yeah,
Sandberg. Sandberg tried to connect everything to Snyder. You could see what he was trying to connect to Snyder. But here's the problem: you're trying to ride Snyder's name, not him. But Warner Brothers was trying to ride Snyder's name while sabotaging Snyder behind his back. That's how they were doing it, and it wasn't cool. And we as fans will see it, and we will
yeah.
say,
But
"What's going
and
on here?
if
That's not right."
anything else, if anything else with Shazam movie, right? You see that music that they had at the end with Shazam, the Shazam when Superman was walking in the cafeteria, right? They used Richard Donner's music,
Okay,
right? It was appalling. You have Man of Steel. It's a new suit. They're not say he wearing the underwear,
right?
the underwear suit, right? Before the red panties, right?
Yeah, precisely. I don't like it either. Zack Snyder said he
Right?
was trying to get red. I said, thank God, bro.
Nah,
I didn't want to see
I
that.
mean, it's a new
I'm
time,
just being
right?
real.
But the thing is, even if oh gosh, is that new is the Man of Steel suit you Superman coming in with? You haven't coming in with the Richard Donner um Superman music. That's poor. You understand? And that's
Right.
just blatant proof that that is what they do all along, right?
But
To make it more comical,
Sandberg did try to pull from BVS as if BVS did exist. So I give him props for
right?
that. I
He
give
tried to.
I give Patty Jenkins also. I give Patty Jenkins props for trying to pull from Zack Snyder's Justice League and not from um, Whedonized version, right? So I give them their props. And don't get me wrong, I'm not against the directors or anything. I just feel that there's studio involvement in those directors' visions. And a lot of people are telling me, well, hey, no, man, that was what Patty really wanted to do. And that's really what David Sandberg wanted to do. Nah, nah, nah,
Ooh,
homie. I don't agree.
Tipu.
Not even James Wan. Not even
Yeah.
James Wan. You know what I mean? They probably one of us was tell them you need to put Jeff Johns. You to tell them, hey man, you need to put more jokes in there. And I know Sandberg's movie was supposed to be jokey because Shazam's a funny
Yeah,
character
well,
and
we
he's
could
a kid.
understand that, but
But
still,
still, at the same time, I
you could
feel there
have
was
at
studio
least
involved.
the music. See, the music is important, and they believe that the fans are stupid, but we're not stupid, you know, right?
I think their thing is we got
Um,
CW fans who watch our movies, and so as a result of that, you know, we got a fan base. We don't need to go with that. But no, you need to because look at your sales, and it had nothing to do. Listen, I'm telling you, if the Snyder Cut fans was behind Shazam, that would have make money, just like with Aquaman. Because when the
exactly.
Snyder Cut fans are behind something, look at what's happening with Justice League. Look at what's happened with Aquaman. Look what happened with Wonder Woman. It's because of us. I was interested in those movies. I liked those movies, and a lot of people like you and all the other Snyder people like the movies. That's why they did well. BVS
Let me
did
go again.
well because it's people like you and me who like those movies, and we went and watched it multiple times. Besides that, the average audience liked it anyway. There was the media overhyped it to make it sound like it was a dislike film, but really the audience, some of the audience was confused by some things, but it wasn't like they
Yeah.
disliked the film. So ultimately, in the end, I just believe that and since because this is one of the topics I actually have to talk with you, just so we jump down the road. But I just believe that the studio needs to, well, at least one of the pictures, they need to. I'm gonna be honest. Y'all ain't gonna like some of y'all ain't gonna like what I'm saying, but they need to fire Tommy Eric and they need to fire Walter Hamada. That's the
No,
truth. I just gonna say it.
you saw
I just gonna throw it out there and end that story.
no, no, you saw my tweets today. right? With regard to in fact, the two videos are put out, right? Now, you have to look at it as this: Zack Snyder is a human being,
This
right?
is true.
And I must have a stress, as you know, right? I will know my situation, right? But as focusing on Snyder, to have a studio coming on you everything you make them making some foolish remark or undermine you
Or straight
in
up trying to sabotage
some
you.
way. I am gonna waste my time.
Why are we having Godzilla
I am
versus
not gonna
Kong?
waste my
Godzilla
time.
versus Kong
And
supposed to be
my
in April.
wait,
Come on, man.
exactly, but
Now
wait,
they're trying to. Let's be
I
real. They're trying to
my
sabotage
thing
all the
is this.
time.
My thing is this. Leave Warner Brothers with their stuff with their properties. Go to Netflix. It are all sorts of people who
I
to
say,
work with
I would say
Snyder.
this. No, yeah, it's cool, but he could have Netflix and he could still work with Warner Media. Warner Media is not Warner Brothers Pictures. Warner Media is a separate thing. Warner Media is the
I don't think
one
you
that
understand,
actually helped.
I think I'm missing. I think
Warner Media is
I
the
think.
one that sponsored this movie, not Warner Brothers Pictures. They had nothing to do with this.
All right.
It was
Well
DC.
then, I ask a question. Why it is when he asks for this character what's his name um
Green Lantern.
John
Green
Stewart,
Lantern.
right?
Yeah.
You remember?
Okay,
Yes.
no, because here what? Even though Warner Media sort of bought over, I guess, some rights or something for the movie from DC Films, Warner Brothers, right?
Yeah.
DC Films, remember they have the rights to the characters. So here's how it goes. Walter Hamada, Jeff Johns must be say, I don't want Jack touch Green Lantern, right? Okay, fine. So even though he's not in Warner Brothers, he's got somebody who thinks like him, which is Walter Hamada. We know this for a fact because Ray Fisher exposed it. Walter Hamada didn't want to give him Jeff Johns, right? They're willing to throw Josh Whedon under the bus, right? They was willing to throw John Berg under the bus, but it was not willing to throw Jeff Johns under the bus, right? Walter Hamada refused to do that. Walter Hamada is a guy who works with Jeff Johns, has a close relationship with Jeff Johns, and he's going to favor Jeff Johns. Period. So, if you've been watching other channels, the work around that is simple. Zack Snyder has many options if he wants to continue with Warner Media. That is to say, HBO Max. That movie could, the Justice League and all the sequels and all could be in a series on HBO Max. He's proven the point by doing chapters. And
Yeah.
just like how we have Winter Soldier and Falcon, which is now a series, or we had what's the name? What's the Wanda? Where it was WandaVision or whatever it's
WandaVision,
called?
yeah.
Yeah, WandaVision. That was a series. Why not? Zack Snyder's Justice League, or individual stories between Batman and I think could be as a series because we're going into an age of streaming, right? While you'll still have things in theater, which I would love to see still, we're going into an age of
You
streaming.
see, you
And the
see,
person,
I will tell
Jason
you this,
Keeler,
right?
is so and Jason Keeler is so passionate about it. I'll give you a chance. Jason Keeler is so passionate about it that he's pushing forward the streaming services because he knew I could see he had firm faith in the Snyder Cut. He knew that the Snyder Cut was going to make a big difference, which it is doing. By the end of this weekend, we're gonna hear, but it's a big splash. Everybody, I've seen prominent people now talking about the Snyder Cut. I know it's big, it's huge, right? So what I'm saying is that if HBO Max has gotten significant subscribers, they don't even need to get tremendous amounts, just significant. Here's the point, because as my boy from what's his name? Shucks, my boy from Belize. Anyway, he was saying Disney pay a whole set of money, billions of dollars to get subscribers, but Disney cannot
Who's
hold
that?
on to their subscribers. So what's going on is this: if HBO Max can have a loyal clientele where their subscribers constantly come back to them,
Yeah.
they're gonna have a better future than Disney Plus. Because that's why they pouring out all these millions and billions and billions of dollars, is because Disney Plus is trying to keep their subscribers. Okay? They got The Mandalorian and they got WandaVision.
Well,
Guess what?
well,
HBO Max got.
I am.
HBO Max
No, I
got
hear you
classic
with,
after classic after classic.
and that's
And to
sounding
top
very,
it off,
that's sounding very good.
yes, yeah.
Yeah.
So
No, go ahead. Finish your point. Finish your point.
yeah, so my point is this.
No, finish your point.
I believe
Sorry,
that
but
Zack Snyder, I believe that Zack Snyder could do series without having to deal with DC films. He could bypass Walter Hamada. Actually, you know who else talked about this? Um, I gained some feedback with my voice on your thing. Can I hear my voice?
probably.
Yeah. Oh,
All right,
you
yeah.
don't have
What? Let me
headphones?
just close up the Twitter. Oh, I might have to go and get mine. You're still getting
Earbuds?
feedback.
No,
You still getting
no,
feedback yet?
no.
All right, good. Yeah, while I was dreaded, I was trying to look for the. I did share the stream now. I shared the stream,
Oh,
right?
cool, cool.
And I was looking for it on. I was going to look for it on Twitter so I could tell people to come and
Okay.
to tune in now. All
Yeah,
right.
sure. No
So, but
problem.
I will do that
Yeah,
again
my
because
thing is,
it's too much. It's too much a thing.
yeah, it's all
Yeah.
right. Yeah. So, what I was saying is that when it comes to HBO Max, they have something special. They really do have a lot of content. I was watching HBO Max's Raised by Wolves. Really love that. Right. Then they had the series with the black people who was going through time, and it started off in the South. You might not have seen that
Okay.
either. They really have some great content on HBO Max. So all I'm
All right.
saying is,
Nice.
besides comic book movies, all Matrix is going to be launched off. Matrix 3 is going to be launched off on HBO Max. Besides Kong versus Godzilla, we had Tenant. That's now playing on HBO Max. That's Christopher Nolan's film. You really might want to check that
Yeah.
out. So
That is our next. That is our next. That is our next
bad.
bacchanal. Yeah.
That's a bad film though. That's a bad film, but it's dope. So all I'm saying is that HBO Max has a lot more content. I can tell you that for a fact. For those who like that kind of thing, and
Yeah.
the thing about it is, there's a certain substantial portion of the population that's thirsty for good content, solid content, and that's what HBO Max is providing. So that's why my hope is once people get roped into HBO Max through the Snyder cut, I think they
Yeah.
might want to stay there when they start to see the other content that there's a lot of great stuff there, you
All
know,
right.
and a lot of great stuff to come. So what I'm saying is there are, as Grace Randolph said, there are many different options, and you have to understand right now, Warner Brothers Pictures is in a very precarious situation. Believe it or not, no matter
No,
what
no. You
the
see, I want
narrative
to
they
finish.
say, no matter what narrative they're putting out in their papers and thing about, that was the last ride. It's very unlikely we'll see any other thing. Let me tell you something. Walter Hamada and Tommy Emmerich job on the line just now. Even though Walter Hamada contract every day. Trust me. The pendulum done already started
You're
swinging.
giving them. You
So,
see, my problem. You see, my problem is this, right? These guys, the more time you give them to settle in, the more time they will make them to give trouble, right? These are
right.
executives. They're always maneuvering and trying to make a safety net for themselves. You
Right.
understand? They always it's a lot of foolishness here, and you see that is why I was saying, right? Now, if it is that they denying Snyder the use of certain characters because they want Jeff Johns to use it, right?
Now remember that's before the Snyder Cut came out.
Right.
There is
But
a
the thing is,
difference
they need
between
to.
before the Snyder Cut comes out and after the Snyder Cut comes out. You
All
dig?
right.
Because Zack about to get a lot more clout, which is why you see Warner Brothers putting up a lot of Man of Steel and BVS stuff all of a sudden. Warner Brothers pictures. You go on YouTube, you
Yeah.
go all of a sudden their tune change. If you notice, and of course they
No,
would like to trick
no.
people
My
into
thing is this.
thinking,
I am. This is not. No, this is. If it's me, if I am Zack Snyder, is non-negotiable. These
of
fellas
course,
need to go. These fellas need to
oh
go.
of course.
There's
That's what
not.
I'm saying. They're
There's
not doing
no.
anything good for the company.
Exactly. You're adding. You're adding. You're only giving me stress because every turn I make, every move I make, you imagine you come out and Walter Amada, we thought, honestly thought Walter Amada was Snyder friend in the
Right,
early
right.
when he took over from Dan Nelson, right? We had in Hamada we trust.
Yeah.
No, no what?
Yeah, but here
Nobody
my
going
thing.
on. Imagine
My thing is
I want
this.
to go back to the movies. I was telling you about the movies and them. Right? We talk about
Mm,
Shazam, right?
yeah,
Birds of Prey.
right.
That's a movie he back, right? Fail,
Yes.
right? That Strike 2. Wonder Woman 1984. 3. Strike 3. You know what Strike 3 is? You're out.
That's it. That's right.
You understand?
So that's what I'm trying to tell you.
Movie and look at that. And if you think it was that it done right there, Strike 4 was the Joker movie because
Right.
you're telling me you all couldn't find $65 million to give to Todd Phillips. Are you
Mm,
are they there's something had to be missing up here, boy.
mm.
Something had to be missing up here. They end up
So all
having
I'm
to
saying is,
share that money three ways, you know. They had to share the profits of that movie three ways, you know. The
that's
movie make
right.
over $1 billion. The first
Yes, sir.
R-rated movie to make $1 billion.
That's right.
Shame.
Right.
I
So
could
my
say
point is,
it's
they
baffling how they
underperformed
still have
because
jobs.
remember Toby Eric took over from Greg Silverman. Greg Silverman
Yeah,
was back in Snyder with Man of Steel and with Batman v Superman. Now Greg Silverman didn't even get a chance after Batman v Superman didn't do what Warner Brothers expected it to do, even though it cracked 930 something $1 million and it's still making money all along, right?
yeah.
Even so, Greg Silverman lose his job just like that. Boom, he gone, right? Look how many failures these dudes have done, right? Tommy Emmerich, okay, they will claim Aquaman was a good success. They will claim that. But since
That
Aquaman, what
movie,
have they done that was
yeah.
successful?
No, that movie is not because of them, you know.
I know.
It's not because of them. That movie succeeded because of Jason Momoa and his marketing push. He marketed that movie like his life depended on it, right? And not only that, he always every so often he would always mention Zack Snyder,
Always.
right? You
Always.
see, you see, gratitude will carry a long way.
And the other thing
Appreciation,
is, regardless of how much interference with the studio and Jeff Johns, James Wan still managed to keep a sort of continuity between the original Justice League movie and their movie. A certain degree of it.
yeah,
You know what I
because he
mean?
went to meet and he met his father,
Right.
which was good, you know, and we
Yeah.
see it in the Zack Snyder Justice League. I mean, right? So I mean that it connects, even though it
Yes.
more marvelous kind of. But even
It's
Zack
kind of
Snyder
trippy.
Justice League, you know the joke about that movie, that Zack Snyder Justice League, it's more Marvel than Marvel, you know.
For real. It is.
and
It is.
and and
Remember
still
Wonder Woman?
maintains and still maintains its integrity.
Yeah.
as
I would say
Snyder
though
movie.
it's more sincere movie. See, that's where Patty was really good at that. The earnestness of a character, what she did in Wonder Woman, and I
Yeah,
guess Zack had something to do with that. But the
yeah,
earnestness of Wonder Woman is what sold that. That's why the movie wasn't cheesy. Similarly, Zack Snyder didn't get this movie
yeah.
wasn't cheesy because the earnestness of the characters. But still, it's a real world environment where people getting killed, they're getting slashed, they're getting utterly destroyed. Okay, and relationships being torn
It's
apart,
real
and you
world
could see like
issues.
you could feel the loss, right? So all I'm saying
Yeah.
is I don't want to go into I don't want to talk about Marvel too much because that's not what this thing is about.
No, no, no,
But
no,
I
no, no,
just
no,
don't
no.
see that in a Marvel movie. I don't see that. I don't feel that in a Marvel.
It's just you know, I dig. It was just a dig up. I don't think I make at them, because I don't like them at all.
Yeah.
All right, but
I like
anyhow,
Marvel movies. I liked Black Panther. I loved Black Panther. I loved I loved the first Iron Man, and I loved Captain America, First Avenger. Yeah.
Yeah,
So
I like those movies.
yeah, yeah, yeah.
Up to the Winter Soldier.
Winter Soldier wasn't bad. Wasn't a bad
Yeah,
movie.
I love Winter Soldier.
It was all right too. Yeah.
Right?
I
That
mean,
Hulk.
I'm not saying they make bad movies. Quite frankly, I'm just saying that that's not my preference of movie. You understand what I'm saying? I'm not
Yeah,
gonna say Marvel make bad movies. What that's supposed to mean? To look how successful their movies are. So no, I'm just saying that's not my thing.
yeah,
Just not my thing.
yeah. Nah, nah, nah,
Yeah.
nah.
So
Anyhow, let's go. Come back to the
no, but
substantive.
all I'm saying to you, Damien, is I thought that Warner Brothers and these two guys, what have they done? They have done nothing but be obstructionists and obstruct something that could actually make real money for them. You
Yes,
know what
I
I
mean
mean? And the
it
change
is
of regime didn't do
mind boggling.
anything. Warner Brothers should have just keep Greg Silverman, and they should have just run the course, and we would have gotten what we would have gotten, which would be much better, significantly better. You know? But it is what it is. So moving on, going back to what we were talking about in chapter one, don't count it on his Batman. We was talking about Superman, and we was talking about Doomsday, right?
Yeah.
I can hear myself
Oh,
again, out loud.
before you go on, your partner, Dan,
Yeah,
Danny, say I know, but my English is not so good. Maybe next time he would
no problem.
join the stream next time.
No problem at
Yeah,
all. I mean, I would love to see him in here, bad English or not. If he
yeah,
says he has bad English, he probably has good English. But
yeah,
nonetheless, talking about Zack Snyder's Justice League, so we were talking about how Doomsday and Superman epitomized the Christ and the devil on crucifixion, epitomized Horus and Seth in the Egyptian hieroglyphics, and so on and so on. Arthur and his opposition, right, in Excalibur. So my thing is this: that the significance of these kinds of symbolism in movies is not really a prevalent thing in Hollywood. And that makes a director who decides to do these things a target, quite frankly. Afternoon, afternoon. So, yeah, man. So I believe that that is why he's not really an insider, right? He's not really an insider. So he comes with his
no,
fresh
he's not.
perspective on things. And so I think that's why they had a bullseye on him because they could see how this particular kind of message he sends, how that message could be something that people take up. And you saw it. You saw how the message resonate with the Snyder Cut community, and now it's resonating with all these people right now, right? So that beginning piece of the Snyder Cut is saying so much. It's speaking about triumph in loss, like Joseph Campbell talks about, how it's about also uh, how a hero conducts themselves in despair. So here you're seeing triumphant loss because what happened was by Superman screaming out, something came out of him and went into Batman. Something came out of him and went into Batman. And I believe, not saying physically, I'm just saying
Yeah,
in
yeah.
principle,
Spiritually,
because because he lost his life now, because he lost his life in that Batman. Throughout the movie, you hear Batman speaking about, how he made a promise on his grave.
yes.
He said it's not even about Steppenwolf and them guys. It's a promise on his grave. So you could feel the impact that Superman had on Batman. So that, and then that's just the opening scene where, and Zack chose to do it in 3 dimensions, which was so dope, so dope. He's saying this is it from Superman's perspective. This is it from Doomsday's perspective. Then he goes out of that and he looks at Lois Lane's perspective. Then we look out of that and we look at it as Wonder Woman's perspective. Then we look out from that and we look at it from Batman's perspective. That's Zack Snyder. He don't just go one perspective unless he's telling a character film. He's multiple
Yeah,
perspectives. And that was the same thing in BVS, right? So, and then we see now how the cry affected the mother boxes.
yeah,
And then we saw how the cry affected the Amazons, Cyborg, the Atlantean. So we got a broad, it starts off singly, it starts off with Superman and Doomsday, and we see how it affected the world.
yeah,
And not just the world, how it affected the cosmos, because now Steppenwolf, Darkseid, the Sod, they're all on it. That's how powerful it is.
yeah,
So I like how he starts at the ripple. Well, he starts at the droplet where the thing that
yeah.
drops, and then you see the ripple effect outwards, and how
It,
one
it, it
man
expands and goes out. Yeah,
one man
yeah,
actions could affect everybody, not just globally, but even universally and
universal.
multi-universally
Yeah, and
and
this movie,
multi-universally.
that's what this movie, all this whole movie was about. Consequences,
Yeah,
the
there you
consequences of
go.
actions.
And Hollywood doesn't like that. No disrespect to Hollywood. There are people in Hollywood who, but the fact that he doesn't trivialize the consequence and focus on hero worship is a
Yeah,
problem. Hollywood does not like, particularly hero worship. I noticed, you know,
because
because
look in that same in that right after that, right after when Batman goes to find Arthur, right,
right,
and he has the back and forth with Arthur, and they walk towards the
Water Edge,
water's edge, right, and after Arthur ducks into the water, you see the woman picks up his
close,
his clothes,
yes,
and it's like it's a sort of reverence, a
yes,
kind of worship,
Icelandic farewell
because
song, yeah,
because he brings food for them,
right.
right? He brings food.
He's
He
seen as
brings
a
food
god.
for them. Yeah,
Yeah, they worship him. They worship him. Yeah,
yeah, right.
pretty
I
much.
mean,
And since a lot of them don't understand English,
yeah,
it's like two gods talking. You know what I mean?
yeah, yeah,
Yeah. So
yeah,
very interesting. It's very revealing how, again, how the world reacts to these heroes. They either see
yeah,
them as gods or as devils,
yeah,
good or evil, and that informs us of how we see God. Because a lot of times things we don't understand, we put it up on this pedestal as if it's God. But when we have some understanding behind it, now we see for what it really is, and now we could actually function in it properly. So
yeah,
I like that, and the fact that the ultimate God in that universe is Superman, right?
yeah,
Somewhat. But look at this. We just spoke about how Superman gave his life for, again, this is the character, and we're watching at them here, and then we're watching them further down the road. He gave his life for mankind. But when he is revived, he's willing to kill mankind. And he was almost on a killing spree. He was thirsty to kill a whole set of human beings. And were it not
yeah,
for Lois Lane, he would have done that. So what Zack Snyder's done, and a lot of people get offended by this. Oh, it's Superman. That should never happen because they worship Superman. Zack Snyder don't worship Superman. He worships the ideal that Superman represents. And that's
Yeah,
the difference between a Zack Snyder film and another superhero film. I don't want to go into call names or anything like that, but so a lot of people admire individuals and build shrines to them because they admire the qualities in them. Zack Snyder says,
yeah,
I am going to challenge the individual and separate the individual from the quality. I love this kind of
yeah.
stuff. You know what I'm saying? So that Zack is able to show now.
I didn't look at that and look at it at that point of view where you just you look at the individual and not the quality. The qualities of the individual. You know, I mean, I
And it
think
goes
that's
further than that because if we just look at an individual and say, oh, man, that individual is so good, I could never be like him. Now we focus on the wrong thing. What we
yeah,
should be saying is, man, I like how he's so kind. I wish I could be kind like him. The absolute inverse.
yeah,
Because if you're inspired by a hero, and they talk about
yeah,
inspirational films, and that's why I said a lot of people are clueless on inspirational films. Oh, Superman needs to be this, and Superman needs to be that. I need my Superman to be this. I need my Superman to be that. I'm like, dude, you're missing the point. It's not about Superman. It's about the quality that he embodies, and you should want to that quality. And that's what Zack Snyder stripped all that stuff away, and
yeah,
he shows the quality by deconstructing the hero.
yeah,
For example, for example, in the opening scene, we were seeing Superman going against Doomsday. Doomsday is impaled. He's impaled, right? He's screaming
yeah,
out again, right? It affect everybody. And then what happens? Both of them collapse, right?
yeah.
Right. Both of them collapse and there's silence. But what did we see? Batman and Wonder Woman and Lewis do to him? You remember
Well,
BVS? What he did with
yes,
him?
they saw well, I think it was which one of them? Well, they saw there was around them, I
They
think
took
they
him
had one
down
at
from his
low.
cross.
Yeah, they lower him down. Yes,
You remember the picture of Jesus being taken down from the
yes.
cross and the
They lowering
parallel?
him down. Yes, I can't remember which one it was that was lowering him down, right? And
Wonder Woman and Batman and Lewis was on the bottom.
yeah, yeah, collecting him, right?
Yes.
You know what I mean?
And Lewis was crying, right? So you remember it. You have to tie this into BVS. So
yeah,
follow the Jesus thing again, and follow if you want to follow the Jesus thing. You don't have to, but
yeah, no
follow
problem.
follow the godlike or the Son of God thing. It's a Son of God motif, right? So the motif is he had to bear his cross. What was bearing the cross? Crossing that chalice. Remember the chalice? You remember to get the to get the um the altar and the thing, the stone, the stumping stone, whatever. All right.
The
So to get the
the
treasure, you have to cross the chalice.
oh, you
So
mean
what is super?
the wash the Holy Grail?
Holy Grail, right? Thank you. Yes, right. So if you think about it, right, for Superman to attain the Holy Grail, he has to cross the chalice, which means he has to die.
Yeah,
He had to die. So that was his cross. And that's what a lot of people don't realize. Superman had to be the one with the Kryptonian spear. It couldn't be Wonder Woman. It couldn't be Batman.
no,
It had to be Superman. Because
you
he was the
know
one, he was the only one capable of bearing the world on his shoulders.
you know it have people saying why he didn't give the spear to Wonder Woman.
No, no, not possible. You understand what I'm saying?
I
He's the only one that could have been. Superman is the one
exactly.
that declared himself to the world. Superman was the one that was helping people. Wonder Woman's coming out of the shadows, right? She's a great warrior, but she's coming out of the shadows. Batman was trying to kill Superman. Why
Yeah,
would a man who's trying to kill Superman be the one to kill Doomsday? No. Then Doomsday was made to attack Superman. Doomsday wasn't made to attack Wonder Woman or Batman. He was
Yeah.
specifically made by Lex Luthor to take down Superman.
Superman, yeah.
So
Just like
Superman's deal was
just
with
like in the,
Doomsday.
just like in the animation where the scientists try, tried to brainwashing Doomsday, right?
Right.
And for him to kill Superman, but
Superman.
funny enough, in that version, Doomsday kill the scientists, which is exactly what was going to happen to Lex Luthor.
Yeah. Because that's just what Doomsday does. And remember, that's not the Doomsday. But nonetheless, all Doomsdays, when you create them, they kill the creator. That's the first thing they do, right? Which is exactly what the devil tried to do with God.
Yeah,
Yeah. So Doomsday was like a devil. Now,
yeah,
a lot of people don't like these imageries. They don't like to hear about devil and God. What are you trying to do?
yeah.
Bring us back to Catholic school?
That's a
But
business. They could go away with that.
the metaphors is the important thing, and that's what people don't get. The metaphors between evil and good. That's what Zack Snyder is really focused on. It's not so much. It could have been some other character. It could have been some other imagery. The point is, this is a principle of life.
Yeah,
Evil, no matter if you give it a second chance or what. In fact, in Justice League, we hear Hippolyta say, "Evil never
just
sleeps.
sleeps.
It waits to be to attack." She said it. She break it down. That's the philosophy right there. It's the same thing, right? So, um, I just love. Like I said, I love Zack Snyder's movies for these things. So, Zack Snyder, right? So that was with the Doomsday thing. So here's the thing that happened now. So they're both dead. They're lying down on the ground. But who gets the sacred burial? Who gets the sacred treatment? Superman.
Superman.
Devil don't get no sacred treatment. You know
No.
what I'm saying? Evil don't get no sacred treatment. Evil is
Yeah.
never. Look at Steppenwolf. Look how sacredly he was treated by his boss. Look how sacredly. Yeah.
I just wanted to go home. I just
Yeah.
wanted to go home. That's
And for
all.
except for his little hiccup and slip up, right? He was loyal to the end and desperate to
Yeah.
be in favor.
Just wanted to
Desperate
go
to be in
home,
favor of his niece,
and you know what I
nephew.
mean? You all had to go on. What?
And
Let me
look
go
how
home.
he was treated.
All I just had to come and slick out on my neck, and had the boss man mashing my head like his piece of mess.
He break the next horn.
Yeah?
Remember Steppenwolf had two horns. Steppenwolf had two horns. Superman break one,
Yeah.
and Darkseid
No,
break the next
that
one and kill him.
combo.
Like if he had a chance, if the head had a chance of surviving, it had no. He crush it under your foot, right? So I'm just saying, you see
As
the
Snyder
difference.
said as Snyder said on Vero when he dropped the
Yeah,
image some about 2 years back. He said,
right.
"I use gods to kill gods."
That's right.
I use gods to
Right.
kill gods. And
That's right.
he wasn't lying. And he showed the image of Wonder Woman coming down over Steppenwolf. That same shot, right? Coming
Yeah, I
down
saw
and
the
coming down
VFX.
over Steppenwolf. And
Yeah,
it's two shots he showed. The one
yeah,
where she was about to chop out the head, and the other one, the comic,
yeah,
where she actually chop out the head.
yeah.
Right?
And then
So
and then they showed us. Oh yeah, the comic. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
yeah, that kind
But
of comic looking kind of one. Yeah.
I tell you,
The
man, Zack Snyder,
storyboard.
he's cool, man. He's a cool dude. And you know, people don't get it, but Joseph Campbell saying all the gods and all the heavens and all the hells and all the devils, demons are in
I
you.
with
It's so
you.
true. It's so true. You know what I mean?
Anson,
It's so true.
I
Yeah,
want
man.
to I want to close off here because I think we could do the other part. Chapter two. We could do chapter two next weekend.
No, I roll in for hours.
Oh, we're
This
for
stream
hours.
is
All
gonna go
right,
for a
no
while.
problem.
But
Well,
you don't have to stay on. You could just you could roll as you see fit. But
all right, well,
I listen.
it was nice, and I
Yeah,
think
man.
this chapter, I think it reveal a lot. Just this chapter alone.
Boy, boy, you know what? You know what? I told you I cried a lot in this movie, right? It's because it's very humbling. Like, okay, just to give you a personal experience, right?
Yeah,
Last week, a guy very close to us who was a health guy, and in peak health and everything, and he's 69 and he was doing very well, and he have a lot of people. He treating people with cancer. He treating people with I was had acid reflux problems. He treat me. I had sleeping problems. He treat me. He's
yeah.
dead, gone. And you would
Remember,
never suspect a man like that who is health conscious.
yeah.
You would never suspect in a million years he would die of heart failure. I was like, what? Up to now,
All
I
right.
still can come to terms with this, right? But it makes sense what Zack Snyder is saying in his movies. You can't be attached to people and don't feel that they are, uh, what's the word,
Infallible.
indestructible,
Yeah, they
infallible.
can't, nothing can, yeah, they can't, yeah, exactly.
Yeah, yeah. That's why
All right,
hero worship, and these kinds of things, I don't really business with that. But
yeah,
when it comes to, and that's why when people try to build a shrine to Zack Snyder, I laugh. I say they admire him, they just don't know how to express themselves.
yeah. But even in BVS, they tell you maybe he's not a god character. Maybe he's just a guy just trying to do the right thing,
That's it.
and that's all. And I'll leave you on that point. Anson
Bless
boy,
man.
it was nice.
Have a
It
good
was
evening.
nice
Eh?
chatting with you.
Also, in addition, don't forget we are supporting you to the end. If you want me to speak about it, I can speak about it, but
Yeah,
I wouldn't just go and
I
speak
just
about it
want to.
right now.
I don't know if I could go ahead and talk about it.
Yeah,
Yeah.
absolutely.
All right. Well, what happened? I going through some real financial difficulty, and those who, all who see this stream, I would like you to go check out my Twitter at Damian Goal 30, right? The the GoFundMe to my to the top of my Twitter, right? To my Twitter page, right? Any assistance would be greatly appreciated, right? It's a really dire situation. Right? I already get a letter from the housing agency, right? Telling me I have to pay to liquidate, right? So it's a lot of things. Plus, I have other debts I have to pay, right? And it coming up just over $3,000, right? So your assistance would be greatly appreciated in this matter. All right. So thank you
Yeah,
everybody.
absolutely.
Thanks very much for
No
this
problem. No
opportunity, guys.
problem.
All right.
Yes,
So
man.
we go link.
Yes,
All
sir.
right.
Tomorrow
Yeah,
I'll
man.
follow up.
Yeah,
Bless
man.
man, David.
Yeah, man. Take care.
You too.
Yeah, man. Bless you. God bless you, my brother.
Bless. Yes, you too. So that's Damien Anton Vincent, good friend of mine, um Snyder Cut follower, of course. And I just wanted to talk a little bit more about this. Um because see, there are principles in life, you know what I mean? And I really appreciate this movie for those kinds of things. So like for example, there's no honor in evil. Because this is there's no honor in trying to destroy people and to save your skin and make yourself look good. And you could be loyal to the wrong people and they will not return that loyalty to you. You know what I mean? And I'm not saying people are perfect, so that anybody would be perfectly loyal. People make mistakes all the time. But it's just that certain ways are not very profitable in life. It's just not. It's better to have a clean conscience and you have zero worries in the world because you're not contaminating yourself with negative thoughts and negative actions. You know what I mean? So I was talking about Superman. Superman, one thing about Superman we knew is that after he had been taken down in BVS and they were treating him with a lot of due honor and respect, And of course, there was the big pomp and ceremony for an empty casket, as we all know. And in BVS, we saw he really had a simple funeral back in his hometown with people he knew. Um, and Batman, of course, made that pledge over his grave. But here's the other thing I really love about this movie. When you look at um, when you look at the movement of the um, the Themyscirians, okay, when you look at the movement of the Themyscirians, the Mother Box is awakened, right? And they are guarding, they stay on their guard. They always have people guarding the Mother Box. When you look at Themyscirians, they're guarding the Mother Box, right? When you look at the Atlanteans, they don't have enough people to guard the Mother Box, right? Their numbers are few. Even though people getting kidnapped all the time, they had fewer numbers to guard the Mother Box. And then when you look at Earth, the Mother Box was guarded by one person, Cyborg. What does it say? It says where the priority lay within the different groups of people. And again, to me, all of these little things, whether you call them coincidences or not, show us how serious people take things. How serious are you about guarding something that could be a threat? How serious are you about that? I remember back in the days when we were looking at BVS. There wasn't this resounding organization and resounding amount of people coming together to handle the issue. It wasn't as well coordinated as it is today. And people who decided that they just wanted to attack people who liked the movie or attack the movie, they had free reign. They had free reign. But as we all know, one person might be an easy target, but the more you create numbers, is the less of a target you are. So when we look at the Themyscirian incident, I started off seeing, first of all, the Themyscirian incident where um, they detect the mother box awaken. And then from there on in, the mother box is always awakened. So they're monitoring it all the time, right? Inside of the temple, they call it a cave. When you look at the situation with the mother box in Atlantis, we see that the leader there, Orm, who's trying to consolidate his power and fight against those who rebel against him, he's not interested in that. Even though the repercussions of that mother box being taken affect him and all of the world, right? Why? Because Orm is a leader who is all about Orm. Orm is not a leader who is there to facilitate the people he leads and so be able to be someone who can sort of chart a direction for the people he leads. There's a different type of leadership, to say, for instance, Superman. So, anyway, after that, we go to Batman as he's moving across the plains looking for Aquaman, right? And one of the beautiful things I thought in this movie, besides the beautiful landscape and I mean, come on now, the cinematography on this movie was just so dope, right? So awesome. But besides them going across the landscapes and um, basically showing that scenery, is you'll notice that Batman, he's got to sacrifice quite a lot to get there, right? We see him crossing icy mountaintops and glaciers, and then he reaches this cliff where there's these waterfalls, and the village is snugly inside of there, in between the cliffs and the sea, which has a lot of icebergs and stuff in there, so no ship could get in. So obviously, the people were very much amazed that he made it into that place, as you can see when he's introduced to Aquaman. What I like about this is Aquaman is behaving as if he is a servant of the headman. The headman of the village, Aquaman seems to be serving. So he's the translator in the whole thing, even though he's really the most powerful guy there. And Batman is talking to him and he's talking to the other guy. But Batman knows the language. He knows Icelandic language, and so he's able to actually decipher what Aquaman's saying to the other gentleman. And I found um, this this particular altercation between those two guys interesting. Aquaman says, of course, the strongest man is strong alone, not in a group. And of course, we've heard that saying in the theatrical cut. And Batman is like, but we need to come together. And remember, that was Aquaman's philosophy initially, right? When he's speaking to Batman. When we go down the road, we see that he is forced to have to join Batman, Wonder Woman, Flash. Batman says where he usually is. So when he was speaking to Aquaman, that he's been that way 20 years in Gotham. So because of that, Aquaman needed to go to Gotham, right, to find Steppenwolf and the team. But what's interesting to me is Mira's role in the whole process. And we saw Mira in the theatrical cut, but what we didn't see was Mira with Vulko. Vulko was a guy also advocating for Batman. I'm sorry, advocating for Aquaman to take up his role as leadership and to be able to deal with the situation to protect the Mother Box and the threat. And he actually ended up doing so involuntarily. Some people talk about how Aquaman in the story, he was someone who went and he was seeing King Atlan and the trident with King Atlan, but that's a statue of King Atlan, and that was a kind of corroded trident, but that's not the real trident. Okay, the real trident was seen in Aquaman, and that story kind of explains how Atlanteans were and all of that. So that's the culture of that. But suffice it to say that Aquaman ends up reversing what he was saying about the strongest man being strong alone. That philosophy that he had initially, he had to resort to another philosophy when he realized he had to track down Steppenwolf. He had encountered Steppenwolf before, but he had to track down Steppenwolf. He came a little bit too late though, but just in time because Steppenwolf was gone, but just in time to sort of hold off the league so that the league could at least escape the flooding of the tunnel, which was very timely, right? And down the road, when he does face Steppenwolf the second time, which is in his stronghold, um, he says, "Remember me?" Right? And he's now all geared up and everything to face Steppenwolf. But the point being is, he's with a team. He's not an individual again with the philosophy that the strongest man is strong alone. And so he has grown from that, realizes he needs to work with people, and so that's the situation that's before them. But to me, uh, him saying "don't count on it, Batman" didn't mean that he ruled it out. So I found that very interesting. And to the point of uh, this guy being seen as a godlike figure because of his capabilities, I think that's the thing with when we deify and we worship people. What I mean by that is just like how the people of that world worship Superman because of his abilities, just like how people worship Batman because of his capabilities. People worship Aquaman because of his capabilities, as we saw in the little village, in Iceland. It's the same way how Zack decided, no, I want to show people past the facade of a god, of the gods that you worship, and that those gods that you worship, that you consider to be, these great things that you need to worship, really you should focus on the qualities that people have. That is why um, I take it to understand that all the gods in you, all the gods and all the hells and the heavens and all, I take that to be qualities and attributes. So with Aquaman, Aquaman realized that his modus operandi, strongest man is strong alone, don't work because he needed help. right? And that's how Aquaman started to become part of the team. If you look at the movie as it progresses onwards, right? They're talking about mother boxes. And Aquaman shares with the team that Atlantis, Steppenwolf has taken that mother box. So he knows he needs help, right? Ben Affleck's Batman had offered him join our team, right? So now he realizes that the situation is bigger than he can handle because he couldn't take down Steppenwolf and he got the mother box. Now he's joining them, right? And what's interesting about that for me is this guy has incredible abilities. He's super strong, he's super fast, right? But Aquaman, and he took the trident. He took up the trident that Volko was asking him to. But you can see that he is still a person with a lot of limitations and flaws. But what he represents is the responsibility for the oceans, is the responsibility to take care of land and sea and have harmony between the two. That's his responsibility, right? And if he does his responsibility well enough, which even at the end of this movie, he didn't fully actualize what he was, and we saw in Aquaman, he fully actualized what he was. But even in that version of Aquaman, he's still hallowed and he's still sacred and hallowed a lot. But it's really about the person. You know what I'm saying? And you can be a very good leader and not be a perfect person. I think that's important for people to understand. You know, but if you are able and willing to listen to people, that's what makes you a very good leader. That you listen, you hear what's on the ground, and then you try to do or act upon or at least facilitate what's on the ground that people want. Right. So anyway, that was Don't Count on It, Batman. And there's a lot of spiritual things we talked about at the very beginning, the opening shot. We talk about, you know, the mother boxes. Of course, we didn't talk about Lex Luthor. Lex Luthor, when these mother boxes were awakened, we see him see this in real time. So that's how he knew. Ding dong, the god is dead. Of course, the mother boxes make a particular kind of song. Not even a ding dong. It's just like a engine kind of sound, right? But it was just very interesting to me that Lex Luthor, you know, not only in real time sees each mother box being activated and then deactivated, but he literally seeing Steppenwolf, you know, also realizing the same thing. Now here's a question for everybody. Where did Steppenwolf come from? Right? Because that goes into the Age of Heroes. Age of Heroes is the next thing that we talk about, the Age of Heroes. But where did Steppenwolf come from? That's the question, right? Now, just before I go on, if you want to join as a guest on this feed, just click the link right there and you can jump in again as a guest. I love talking with people, and talking this movie with people would be just awesome. So I'm going to go for a couple hours. Well, so you guys can hop on here. Just mute your mic and be respectful, and we can just take off with this thing. So anyway, back to what I was saying. The Age of Heroes, right, continues along the line of Themyscira, where Steppenwolf comes down through a boom tube to Themyscira. But we all know Steppenwolf didn't come from Apocalypse. He also came with a bunch of parademons. And later on in the film, we hear that these parademons, they've been searching out for the different mother boxes and taking people hostage where they could. So, and we realize the parademons are pretty strong because they're stronger than the Atlanteans, right? What is interesting to me again here is in the beginning we see the Amazons, and they are, you know, they're great warriors and everything, but you could see the concern on the lady who played a Zod in Krypton. Okay, hold on one second. Just gonna mute my mic for a brief second. Yeah, so we're talking about the age of heroes and we're talking about time of scare. So I actually saw some sort of apprehension and fear in the Amazon who went towards the mother box to touch it. And I thought that was very interesting because when Steppenwolf talked about feeding off the fear of the Amazons, uh, I noticed that Hippolyta, she actually sneered, she actually smiled at the challenge. It reminded me of when Gal got thrown down by Doomsday and he kind of smiled at the challenge as well. But there's this wry smile on his face. And when she asked the Amazons, "Do we have any? Do we have fear?" They said, "We have no fear, right?" And the cool thing about uh, Steppenwolf falling from heaven and trying to apprehend the mother box, in my opinion, was that it's like I saw Lucifer come out of heaven like lightning, you know, and the above and below theme, it seems to be a theme that happens in Zack Snyder's movie. But anyway, here now the illustration seems to be where first we have the parademons come through the boom tube, and then Steppenwolf comes down. Where from whencever he came from. That is an interesting story. I don't know where Steppenwolf came from, but it wasn't from Apocalypse. He was banished, right? Somehow he got in contact with Desaad. I think because of the mother box. But nonetheless, here we see Steppenwolf come down from heaven or from wherever he came from, and because the mother box is called out to him, and he probably was closest, I don't know. But he's working along with Desaad. And Hippolyta was the first line of defense. The Amazons was the first line of defense. Now, notice something. Steppenwolf attacks the Amazons when they're not at full capacity. When the Amazons are at full capacity, he gets out of there, right? Because when one of the soldiers was, she was allowed, Hippolyta told her to go marshal up the legions and bring them. And if she was hesitant to close down the temple, right, to seal it, she was hesitant to do so until one of the Amazons got fatally wounded and was encouraging her to close it down. And what she said was, "Let us die in honor." No, she said, "Honor us, seal the cave." And it was a very, it's a very serious decision Hippolyta had to make, and she chose to do so. In the process, a lot of her people died. A lot of her Amazons died, sealing off the cave. And you could see the angst on her face to make the decision. You could see the sadness in her as she looked down at the water where the whole entire temple, cave, whatever you want to call it, crushed into the sea. And then you saw the riplets and bubbles coming up, and then you saw Steppenwolf leap out of the sea with parademons. It's just totally amazing. But the point being, as a leader, you can contrast her leadership with Orm, who we never even seen in the movie, and how she cared for each and every Amazon. In fact, with the death of the Amazon who was died under the weight of the horse that probably broke her hip and whatever else, um, you see her there, attentive. And so you see the contrasting styles of leaders. Now, Hippolyta is not a god, okay? Um, but you can see that She has care for every Amazon's life, every single Amazon there. But notice Steppenwolf comes through when the Amazons are not fully at their complete power. And I remember seeing the boom tube as it's coming down from a cloud in the sky. I'm seeing the Amazons who are in their daily dealings, and they see this and it gets their attention. And to me, it's very interesting because several different reasons. One, I remember with the story of Job, the devil tempting him through a whirlwind, and it was a whirlwind that actually destroyed Job's children. And it just dawns on me, Steppenwolf was coming through a whirlwind himself. Well, you call it a boom tube, but it was a cloud at the top. He came through this kind of whirlwind thing, and he came down to earth, and he was wreaking havoc against the first line of defense, which was the defenders. But notice what Steppenwolf said: "You defenders have failed." That was the first thing he said to them, and he said something about 100,000 worlds have fallen, right? And I thought that was very interesting because just as how Lucifer was cast out of heaven, I found Steppenwolf being cast out from heaven as well and landing on earth and immediately claiming failure for his opposition, which would have been us, mankind, who fell because he tricked Eve. I just find it very interesting, that parallel again, you know. And it's just, you watching the fall of the Amazons to some degree. And of course, he talks about the age of darkness, that they're ushering in the age of darkness. And I found that also very interesting and almost demonic. And I thought to myself, you know, the title of this thing is The Age of Heroes. What it started off with darkness, a very dark set of events happened. And it starts off with Themyscira. Themyscira is the place, the strongest point where the most united people, where Steppenwolf attacks. And he attacks them when they're not at full power, you know, and to get their mother box as soon as possible. You see the parademon try to steal the mother box from an Amazonian. Another Amazonian knocks kills the parademon while the box is knocked down on the ground. We see some of the, Themyscirians, some great Themyscirians who we know get killed by Steppenwolf. And it's kind of agonizing to see Hippolyta lose all these great warriors and lose all these great people she knew about for thousands of years. These people were, they knew each other, so they were well knit. And even when you're watching the Amazons fight, like in Wonder Woman, you see them ramp each other's shields to jump at Steppenwolf. I saw one even try to stab him, but she kind of missed and fell short. But the point behind it is that evil tends to strike wherever it can get a weakness. And in this case, the Amazon could not get to full capacity as a legion, and the legions couldn't come down. But as soon as the legion started coming down, Steppenwolf was out of there. He's trying to get him out of the box as soon as possible, right? He's savage, he's strong, but obviously, if you overrun him with numbers, and his parademons, he would have been beaten. Point being that the Amazons, right, which were the first line of defense and probably the most united of all the groups, couldn't keep Steppenwolf from getting the mother box, which is why he believed that inevitably the world would fall. Because as he reported to Desaad, these people are divided, too divided to be one. This world will fall. That was his point. And he was right to some degree, you know. Um, Aquaman's philosophy of the strongest man is strong alone, that don't stand, right? It doesn't work. That's a strongman argument for strongmen, right? But it does not really work. It won't last. So how does the Age of Heroes come up? Well, if we look at Diana's account of the Age of Heroes, and you will listen to Junkie Excel's score particularly, the parallel sort of music, the same Justice League theme is played when the heroes come together. And Diana was speaking about how all these different tribes of the world the Atlanteans, the Arizonians, the different tribes of man. You know, they were warring with each other and they didn't trust each other. But yet, when Dark Side came to Earth and was looking for the anti-life equation, all right, and he saw the secret, the anti-life equation on Earth. Then he came to Earth to get that, to control all the people. This is when they came together as one. They united under the threat, and they fought back, along with, you know, intergalactic forces like the Lanterns, right? And of course, some people died and so on. And we saw how graphic it could be. How Darkseid cut off the Green Lantern's arm and hand, and how you know Ares, the god of war, came through and just really wrecked Darkseid's shoulder. Right, had him bleeding all over the place, and they had to escort him out. I made him retreat. But the point is, it was through unity this happened. It was through unity this happened. And that Justice League theme was being played. And you'll see that Justice League theme play also in the final act with Steppenwolf when, the Flash is running rings around the place, building up charge to hit Cyborg. Superman is, beating the crap out of Steppenwolf, and Wonder Woman and Aquaman also having fun with him as well. And Cyborg's about to get into the mother boxes when Flash is moving around. You hear that same theme because they're all working in concert. They're all working as one. However, when they first meet with each other, the Justice League, we see that they're not working as one. In fact, Flash is the one who is running all over about the place really quickly, and he's saying, "Hey, man, I thought you guys said let's work together. Is this working together? That kind of thing." And it's interesting how, again, there's so many things to say. When you look at the Amazons, right? You look at the Amazons, they work together. They worked with teamwork. Why? Because they knew each other for 5,000 years plus, right? So they knew how to work together with each other. And they had a community and a society where they learned to feed off of each other's strengths. You contrast that with um, Justice League, the members, and you see one guy has a philosophy: the strongest man is strong alone. We'll look at Cyborg very soon when we talk about, beloved mother, beloved son. But with respect to Cyborg, with respect to Aquaman, he was a loner, right? And he didn't have affiliation with above or below. He was like, I am business with above and below, right? I ain't business with mankind. I help mankind and stuff, but I ain't the king of the land. They say I'm the king of the seas, right? And you see him move from that to someone who's working in concert with the other Justice League members, and reminds us of the age of heroes. And of course, Batman says something that again is very spiritual. Batman talks about faith, and it's the faith that Batman has, which we never heard. We never heard Batman speak in this kind of language, right? Yeah, faith, faith, Alfred. It's nothing else but faith, and so faith Batman had in the League members is what allowed them to come together, right? So, and another thing I thought was very interesting about Batman was when you see them sort of troubleshooting the situation with the mother box, for example, and Superman, notice that Batman, even though he's talking and contributing to the thing, he's listening a lot. And they're giving their persuasive arguments for why he should be brought back or not. And even Alfred joins in the discussions. In other words, what we see in the evolution of the Justice League, which starts off with "Don't count on it, Batman, Aquaman," and Batman saying, "I'm not leaving until I get an assurance from you. I get to speak to this stranger, right? Who he knows is Aquaman. He knows that because he got intel on him, right? He saw him. He saw the footage of him under the sea, so he had intel on him. He knew who Arthur Curry was. But the thing about it is, that he was determined to get each one of them to express themselves on the floor. That is to say, in working together as a team, we may not agree on everything, and maybe even people won't want to be a part of the team initially. But in working together, you have to one you want people to express themselves. You want people to express because by expressing yourself, I get your perspective of things, and it empowers you to want to speak more often and let your voice be heard, which means I will know where you're coming from, and two, I will know how best to work alongside you if I can. So I thought that those aspects of Bruce Wayne's approach to things really benefited him in the long term, even with his failure, you know. So with the Age of Heroes, as I was saying before, it starts off with the Themysciran being robbed of their mother box by Steppenwolf, and it's a bloody, gory, this tremendous sacrifice that accompanies this, and it's messy, right? Because in real life, real things happen in a messy way, and it's like a war. And so Hippolyta loses a lot of good soldiers. He loses a lot of good soldiers. You know, some of her right hand people lost in that battle, and because they worked together, because they had a game plan and strategy, Steppenwolf had to get out of there. He wasn't going to stay around. He's powerful, but he ain't that powerful, right? So he got out of there with the mother box, and he started building his base uh, in Russia. Now, like I said before, when you look at what Diana was saying to Bruce Wayne, the unity. My point being, Darkseid, as powerful as he is, Steppenwolf, as powerful as he is, or any other great uh, power adversary, whether it's Brainiac or whatever. These beings are no match if everyone comes together on Earth to fight them. There's no match because it's a numbers game. They're no match. And that's the point. Us united. This movie and the Age of Heroes was speaking about that time when people put aside their differences to fight for a cause. We saw it in real life, in real time, with the fundraisers, where there's a fundraiser for the American Foundation for Suicide Prevention. And people, we talking about IGN joined in that. We saw Geeks and Gamers join in that. We saw you, me, the Snyder Cut fans joining it. And the point being this, that it doesn't matter if you agree or disagree. You should be able to come together for a good cause. And that cause will never fail. It'll always be successful if we come together. Unity. And yes, I know that people can come together for evil, like in the Unity in the movie, but I'm just saying. So that's what made the Age of Heroes successful. That everybody who had a stake in the preservation of that world came together. And by the end of Justice League, if we look at the Age of Heroes, by the end of Justice League, Martian Manhunter actually says, I have a stake in this world. He literally said that. And he says, I'll need to help you because Darkseid is going to be coming back again, right? For the anti-life equation. So I just thought that that was beautiful because, again, it's showing the unity of these people to come together. Hopefully, they will come together. And by extension, the same thing that happened in the Age of Heroes. So, like my brother was saying, Damien Anton Vincent, you had the old gods or old wine, and then you have the new gods or new wine. And it's not that they're gods, as in capital GODS, but common GODS, people who have massive responsibility because of their potential. And each one of us has that massive responsibility and massive potential within us to do great things. And so that this translates to us, particularly in that we as people, and this is a spiritual thing, of course, I'm talking about here, And don't mix up spiritual things with Jesus or Christian or a label of some kind. Please don't do that. When we say spiritual things, it just means invisible things, and that's all I mean by it. Qualities and stuff like that. So spiritual things are very important, and the spiritual quality here is unity, harmony, to get a greater good, to do a greater good. Meaning, disagreements that are subsets of things, we should put those aside for something that we all agree on. And I thought that this was pivotal in the Age of Heroes because it was instructive to Bruce Wayne as it was to Wonder Woman. Of course, we saw um, there's all these other interesting elements inside of there with, the Frenchman talking about all these Tomb Raiders as in reference to Lara Croft, and in reference to all the arson that's happening with respect to the Amazons. And I thought this was very interesting because, of course, Artemis also fought alongside Ares, and they were able to take down some of the apocalyptic technology that flew and destroyed them. And it makes sense that Artemis, who was a tremendously big god, it was very tall and stuff, her arrow would be used to shoot across very far distances. So that made sense. And of course, across dimensions as well, because Themyscira is in a sort of a slightly different dimension and protected, you know, in a dome itself. It's really, really weird because Steppenwolf, the mother box is actually built up as you had more mother boxes. They were able to create this defense for Steppenwolf that was also a dome. Um, and I guess this is where the Red Sky stuff came from. Um, but to just harp on that point once more, that the Age of Heroes was really about a coming together of people. And let me just say, that we can have an age of heroes too in our time when we come together for good causes. And I pray that the Snyder Cut family will not give up on AFSP. Like we continue to promote that, promote feeding America, promote being kind to one another. Remember, this is comic book fandom, and we don't need to. You can correct somebody or you can say something to someone without being unkind to them and mean. And you could tell the truth and stand on that, but not be, you know, mean, to be honest with you. I know we would be tempted to be mean at times. Especially when somebody's mean at you, you want to be mean back. But we have to be an army of love. Basically, that's what I think. But I thought that was really fantastic. Now there are all these nitsy gritty details that I would like to go into with the Age of Heroes in terms of when she went down and she took up the arrow and you saw the I don't know if it's Greek. I think it was a Greek on the arrow, and I guess those were instructions for her to be able to access the underground catacomb or whatever you want to call it, where she would open up this door, kind of like a National Treasure or like a Tomb Raider kind of thing or Indiana Jones kind of feel, and she goes inside of there. And you know, at the end of the movie, we see Wonder Woman holding the key again, the arrow, sorry, in her hand. It's the key, but it's an arrow at the same time. Artemis's arrow, and she's looking out at the sea. And I'm thinking to myself, it's not just that she misses the Themyscirans, but I think she's also contemplating that Darkseid is going to return. That's just my personal opinion. I'm not too sure if that's the case. But as with Batman and with any other person, she should be anticipating an attack. And sad at the same time that she can't go home, because most people think it's because she's longing to go back to Themyscira. But I was thinking, because she was dressed in black as well. But I was thinking that it also sort of epitomized that she had to be ready because the fact that she had the key in her hand by that temple again told me that she went back underground and she was looking at those murals again to scope this to scout out more stuff. The other thing I noticed when she went down into the underground mural is how the parademons look like devils. They literally look like demons when depicted underneath there, and whereas the Amazons and the other cultures of the world looked humanoid, and then you had the dark side with the three mother boxes as one. They're synchronizing, and obviously they would clear the earth so that obviously Darkseid could come in with his forces and then take over the stranglers that were left. Obviously, the anti-life equation would make everyone loyal to him, and their wills would be bent to him, which is what Diana was explaining. But what stopped that from happening? The Age of Heroes. And remember, we just talked about it. Steppenwolf, when he was speaking to Desaad, he said, no protectors here. So he didn't believe that there was anyone who was united enough to be able to push uh, his agenda away. He thought he had to have an open shot quits, and he almost did have his point was almost came across, even though it still cost him his life. But just to have the favor with Darkseid and to get Darkseid what he wanted. And it's so strange because again, I'm going to say some things that are kind of unfiltered, and some people agree with me not. But I think about the last administration's rule, Trump, and how some guys were just desperate to be in his favor, desperate to be in his favor, and they were willing to storm the Capitol and put their whole reputation and lives in jeopardy for the guy. And I get the same feeling with Steppenwolf. Um, but to go back to the Age of Heroes, another point that I thought was very interesting in this whole thing, before going into minuscule detail, is that uh, Bruce suspects that um, forces, the invaders are already on the planet. But Diana comes with the actual fact saying, "Listen, dude, they're here. They're here. They're here now." And again, just to go into the spiritual stuff for a second, you know, a lot of times we're like, and even with illnesses, sometimes you're like, man, you go to the doctor, you find out you're ill, but then you find out that you were ill for a long time. You actually were ill for a while. And similarly with spiritual things, where sometimes you only detect that you have a spiritual problem, or you let me give you a spiritual problem. So like, for instance, somebody who is ADD, but they suspect that they were ADD even before they were diagnosed, and then the diagnosis comes, right? It's kind of like that with Batman. Batman was preparing for an invasion. He kind of knows that there's an invasion coming. He even said that to Diana because of his dreams, his premonitions, etc. And then Diana confirms it, right? And it's always good to go with your gut feeling. It's always good to go with your gut feeling. As Batman said, you have to have faith. Sometimes it's just about faith. There's no evidence, but just you got to work on faith. And Batman could say that because one, his premonitions were validated by Diana at that point in time, where he was having these nightmares, he's having these dreams, and of course he had made a promise to Clark on his grave, that he was going to protect, you know, he's going to do Clark right, and he's going to protect the world. So here he was trying to get this team together, even though he didn't have any evidence. We saw that in BVS, where he was talking about it's just a hunch or just a feeling. And here we see him now getting validated by Diana. That Diana says they're not coming, they're here, right? Validating him. He suspected that. He even said that to um, Jeremy Irons' Alfred, right? He said they might even be here. And he got validation from that. And so what I would say is that in the face of a threat, or in the face of a disaster or something, you would see you would know and see that you need help. Okay? And clearly he knew he needed help. Unlike Aquaman, didn't think he needed help. Unlike Cyborg, who didn't think he needed help. Cyborg was like, F the world. You know, I don't need anybody, not anymore, right? And so Cyborg was kind of doing the same thing like Aquaman somewhat. He was running, right? And unlike Cyborg and unlike Aquaman, the Flash, he was willing and ready to embrace something, to embrace being a part of something, right? So you have different kinds of people who you would have to deal with in different situations when you're trying to come together. Some people will say, "Man, I'm going it by myself," probably because they got burned a couple times. And other people would be like, "Yeah, man, let's do this." You want to have the people who, "Yeah, man, let's do this," pumped up to the max like Flash was on your side. You really do want that. And again, the age of heroes didn't just happen overnight. It wasn't just people came together and they were all well and good. I don't believe that, because when you look at the Themyscirans, they work together because they've been with each other for such a long time. When you look at even how the Justice League came together in this movie, it's because they shared a common threat, a common interest, and gradually they started coordinating with each other and working in sync with each other. So it took some time. And I guess I would love to see the story of the Great War and the great heroes, as they went up against Darkseid, because what we learned was the Amazons had not been betrayed by man as yet, and then the Atlanteans weren't really living in the sea. So this was an early time, and even though the Atlanteans had waged war with the Amazons, and the Amazons didn't trust the Atlanteans, and we had different tribes of men who didn't really trust each other, we saw them all come together. What made them come together on that day to confront Darkseid? And that's a story in and of itself, right? But we kind of get part of that story in how the modern Justice League, the modern New Gods, if you want to call them that, if you want to call them that, the metahumans, how they came together and how bumpy and difficult it was. But they did it within a certain space of time, and they did it pretty well. And so I feel similarly, you could fill in the blanks for how the old gods and mankind, Atlanteans, and the Themyscirans, how they came together with the Green Lanterns, you know? But that's an interesting story in of itself. Um, so at the age of Eros, and then Diana was talking to Bruce Wayne about, you know, how they said the age of heroes will never come again, and Bruce was like, it has to. And the point being, we live in an age of heroes even now. And even now, we've seen people come together to do miraculous things and you know, keep tyranny away in the world. And that's important for all of us to realize and realize we were one step away from tyranny happening. And people came together. And the point is, we have to come together. We have to unite. We have to work as one, right? Um, okay, so let's just talk about a couple of details about the Age of Heroes that I didn't really truly mention. One of them was that, as I said before, Diana at the end of the movie, she's still anticipating Darkseid coming back, which is why she has the arrow in her hand. It's not just because she misses Themyscira and the damage that was probably done there, which Steppenwolf was saying to her happened, because she doesn't really know, right? And then what's interesting about that is some little itsy gritty pieces of details. When Hippolyta is about to shoot the arrow, they're saying different things, I guess talking to the gods, Artemis. And then, you know, Hippolyta, she fires the arrow and she says, "Come to me, Diana," right? And I can see that ultimately in the end, Diana finds herself somewhere on Themyscira, somehow, some way. Maybe there's a Amazon that needs to go back to Themyscira or something, and she carries that Amazon back. Of course, in Wonder Woman 84, realized there was a great Amazon who stayed back with mankind to deal with mankind so that the Amazons could escape to Themyscira, right? Well, they probably lived in Themyscira, but Themyscira became a hidden territory. Zeus hid them. So what's interesting about that is that they are Themyscirans that actually walk among people of the earth, which is very interesting. And just like how there are Kryptonians walking the earth, Superman's not the only Kryptonian. There are Themyscirians walking the earth, and obviously there are uh, there are Atlanteans that possibly might be walking the earth as well. So these are all little interesting little things I thought that I would talk a little bit about. Um, in terms of the Age of Heroes, there's all these fine little, oh man, this is just a lot of Zack Snyder loves to put in a lot of callback to the comics and stuff in there. So I'm gonna leave you guys to look through that and see all those details. But I'll just mention one of them that I thought was very interesting that got my attention. So in the Age of Heroes, there's a couple of things that happened, right? In that segment. One of them was that Diana, um, yes, Diana, she is talking to Bruce about the the Justice League members that they would sort out um, they would sort out who they were going to go check out, right? And because initially Bruce and Diana they both put their hands on the mouse. So you could see there's a sort of Bruce is obviously a leader and Diana is obviously a leader. Okay, so it was kind of interesting seeing those two leaders kind of. It was an awkward moment for both of them. Of course, people talk about Wonder Bat, but I think there's something between Bruce and Diana anyway. I still see the Wonder Bats thing kind of could happen possibly. Um, but what I think is interesting um, is that with Diana and Bruce, we see them working together because Diana wasn't on board with Bruce. What made Diana become on board is because Steppenwolf took the mother box, and therefore Hippolyta had to speak to Diana, and that caused Diana to do the history lesson and all that stuff and realize it was an invasion. But she knew it was an invasion. She just went back down to get the information on what was going on. She knew what that arrow meant, and so she joined with Bruce. Now remember, Bruce in the funeral scene in BVS, he was trying to convince Diana to join him and help him recruit the others. And Diana did not join him. Then he tried to get Aquaman to join him, and again, Aquaman did not join him. So Bruce was like 0 for 0, right? 0 for 2. All right. So, but the point is that we see now Diana comes back, and then we see Diana now trying to sort of work with Bruce, but at the same time, she it's almost like she wants to leave. And we see that little conflict between them where Bruce was about to pick up the mouse and direct, and Diana's she's like she's Madame in charge, you know what I'm saying? She's running the show. So she just goes to take the mouse, and then Bruce goes to take the mouse, and she allows Bruce, this is different, to click on the mouse and go to the other potential team members. So I thought it was very interesting. And this is a quick little something that I thought was just very interesting about the two of them. People would say it's attraction, but I think it was more leadership. It was like they were sort of not sure who should lead at that point. It's a pretty awkward moment. But uh, aside from that, what else did I see in the Age of Heroes that was pretty interesting that nobody's going to be covering really? Um, I thought that the segment um between Bruce and the Flash, because we got a little bit more information on the Flash. We got a little bit more information on Cyborg, just a little bit, but mostly Aquaman. We got information on, and We got information on Diana and Bruce, particularly when it comes to the invasion and the history lesson. Um, I thought that once again the movie was moving along pretty interestingly. I'm trying to remember where Lewis Lane's segment comes in, where she's coming out of the coffee shop. Of course, we see Zack there writing something, doodling something. She's coming out of the coffee shop, and that beautiful song really touched my heart. Very beautifully sung, by the way. And of course, the song is about two lovers and companions and hoping that it would have lasted forever. And you hear them talk about the dreams. They thought the dreams would outlast them. They thought the gods would outlast them, but it was a lie. And very, very tender song. I really enjoyed that song immensely. And Lewis goes to the site where Superman, the memorial of Superman, and she looks at it. And interestingly enough, when Superman is resurrected, that's the first place he lands on, and he looks at the memorial, which is very interesting. But this is where the movie really starts to get heart. Now, I'm not saying the movie didn't have heart before. Of course, there was a lot of loss in the movie, but I think up to that point, I think with the Lewis, when Lewis was interjected into the movie, I think we really got to the personal relationship kind of thing of the movie, and so the movie really started to pick up with that aspect of relationships. And I think that's the first. I think that's the first place where I started to cry. I started to cry at that point because it's like, wow, she really lost him, and she really missed him, and you could feel it. The music was just very tender. Um, it was just quite a thing, and I couldn't help but think about Autumn at that point in time as well. My mom, my dad, people I lost, and just the gentleness, the tenderness of those moments. I remember holding my mom in my arms as she was passing away, and it's just a very tender moment for me. Um, and it's almost like you feel like you're bruised, like you have these grave injuries, and you just have to be very tentative and delicate with them, you know. So anyway, just to personalize a little bit, that part made me break down and cry. Um, it felt very much like a loss, uh, and brought the human elements into it. And it's amazing because we don't really think of Lewis as a hero in this movie, but she was. She was a hero. Um, Coping with the loss, overwhelmed by the loss, um, somewhat non-functional. We later learn in the movie that she hadn't gone to work since Superman had died. She had put out one piece, remember, in BVS. She put out the piece on Superman's death and Lex Luthor being responsible and stuff like that. But she really hadn't done anything since then. And how is she a hero in this movie? Well, if you really want to know, real life heroes are not people who are action stars. Real life heroes are people who can inspire other people to be better, in fact, in spite of their shortcomings, as you already know. So, Lewis Lane was, of course, pivotal in the movie in anchoring Superman and keeping him, grounded. And I really appreciated that part of the film. But once again, let me just stop here because I've been 2 hours into the movie. This thing's gonna go for a while, so it doesn't really matter. I'm going for a very long time. I'm gonna be talking a lot. But if you want to join as a guest, remember you can join via this link here, which is provided. Just for those people who want to talk about it, but just going through the age of heroes. I can't go scene by scene, shot by shot, but like I said before, I'm looking at how the character grows. I'm looking at the spiritual implications. I'm looking at the character now at that point and then further down the road. Okay. So when you look at the Age of Heroes and Lois Lane particularly, her bit is where she's, routinely going to the site, the memorial, routinely going there. And as we look further down the movie, where we see Martha Kent coming to her home to speak with her, to encourage her to come back to the land of the living because she's in a depression, clearly, because she misses Clark. But can't really say too much because she has the secret. Uh, Martha comes and shares that with her. Obviously, Martha's not Martha, it's really General Swanwick or Marshall Manhunter who's really coming to encourage her, but he's using the guise of Martha. But nonetheless, it resonates with Lewis. And again, that was a moment where I cried when she said, "Darling, I understand, but I'm so proud of him," right? Obviously, that's General Swanwick saying he's proud of Superman, but nonetheless, under the guise of Martha. And I just thought that it was beautiful because this is what Marshall Manhunter thinks of Superman, basically, is what we're seeing. And when we backtrack and we think about General Swanwick and his relationship with Superman, how he grew to love Superman, how he was horrified when the president, after hearing different arguments, the president says, "Okay, launch the nuclear weapon at Superman and Dark and Doomsday in BVS," and you can see how horrified he was, and General and General and Major Farris, you know. Um, I get it. I get why he was the way he was. And of course, we think about when in Man of Steel, when Superman is talking to uh, uh, General Swanwick, right? He's talking to him as a general, speaking to him, and General Swanwick's not really intimidated like the other humans are by Superman because he's Martian Manhunter. And so, you just the beauty of this movie is now when you look back at things, they make even more sense, because so we're talking about the Age of Heroes, obviously. So Lewis, I think, in this movie is a hero as well because she's she has lost someone tender to her. Very, she misses him a lot, and I could vouch for you. I miss my mother a lot, right? I'm sure there's a lot of you, especially with this COVID and how dread it's been, that's lost loved ones. If you haven't lost them to COVID, you lost them to cancer or something. And it's painful, but yet at the same time, it's more of the missing them that becomes something that's so fundamental to you. You know what I'm saying? And with the Age of Heroes, Lewis Lane is no short of being a hero because to me, a hero's journey involves despair and difficulty. And she was going through that portion of her journey without Superman and trying to figure her way into the world. And it was just very encouraging when in the night she wakes up and she feels for Clark with the pillow and realizes he's not there. And she's in that despondent again depression. And she opens her drawer and then she sees that she was a reporter. And there's a life that she needs to go back to. And she gets up and I think she goes to another room to probably call via her phone or something. And it looks like she's trying to go back to work. She's trying to, you know, with success, probably not, because we see her heading back to the memorial. She says one last time. And, you know, a lot of times we have battles within ourselves. We have battles within ourselves. We have demons within ourselves. Sometimes the battle is not something that's external. And I like how Zack takes that internal war and puts it on the screen for everybody to see the vulnerability of someone. Um, the vulnerability of Aquaman, the vulnerability of Cyborg, the vulnerability of Lewis, the vulnerability of Superman. You know, these characters, they're not flawed. No, it's a transparency to show you as people they are. And you could be an Atlantean, you could have been from Apocalypse, you're a person that has certain qualities. And I think even Darkseid, we see, his ego, his pride was affected. And not only that, but the thing he sought after for power, the seat of power, eluded him, right? So, this Age of Heroes segment involves all of that. And we saw it further manifested further down the movie. But I always, Louis Lane to me is a hero and an unsung hero in this movie. She's kind of understated, but eventually she reunites with Superman, reunites his mother with him. His mother has pride issues because Martian Manhunter, with his intel on Martha, he knows what to say about her. But I'm just saying that winning a battle or winning a war or winning something doesn't necessarily have to come, through fighting. Sometimes it can be through making peace, through de-escalating a situation. And that's what Lewis did at a critical point in time. And that's what made her a hero. She played her role in putting this thing together. Um, chapter 3 is Beloved Mother, Beloved Son. Beloved Mother, Beloved Son. And woo, this part of the movie. Now, the movie has dramatical elements in it all the way through, right? Time Obscura was just dramatic. Louis Lane segment was really, really dramatic. But Beloved Mother, Beloved Son, which doesn't begin with Cyborg and his mom or Victor Stone and his mom, Eleanor Stone. It doesn't begin with them, but that is the heart of that segment. And it says a lot about Victor Stone's character and the principal cause he's in trouble because he helped someone with their exam when that person had no home to go to, and no one cared about them enough. And did Victor do something that was morally right? No, but you can see his mother creating this bigger picture and saying to the dean or principal or whoever it is, listen, what did you do to help her? What did you do that was better for this person? You know, and I mean, this segment was quite intense. Um, you could see how broken Victor was that his father was never there for critical moments in his life. He's an absentee father. And he never felt like his father, obviously. He never felt the love from his father. And, you know, you know, we all know that moms are like the biggest thing ever in the world for children because you mightn't be able to speak with your dad much, but speaking with your mom is a special thing. And I for a very long period of time had apprehension against my mother, you know. I think one of the takeaway things of Beloved Mother, Beloved Son was how the void in Victor was filled with a certain animosity towards his father, as if his father had caused the death of his mother, you know. And hold on one second. As if his father was to blame for his mother's death. And that wasn't necessarily, of course, the case. Yes, he was absent, but does it mean that if he was present, this is a kind of flash moment where you could change the timeline. You think if he was present, that would have changed the situation? Maybe not. Maybe there'd have been more death. You know what I mean? People like to say if, for situations. You just never know in this life. You never know. Ready? So anyway, um, you guys know the story. I'm not going to go through all of that. I just want to again capture the then and the now, right? So Victor has certain capabilities. We know what they are, right? He's immensely powerful. After he gets in the accident, his father saves his life, but obviously, uh, not in the manner and way in which he's just a normal human being that comes back, but instead, he's mostly machine now because of the mother box. And he thinks of himself as a monster. He does not like his father. And what he can't forgive his father for for allowing certain situations to happen in his mind. And the one person who he could communicate with, the one person he loved, she's dead. All right. So that's just a tremendously stressful situation to be in. And I don't blame him for blaming his father. I don't. I absolutely see that. I remember I blamed my mother for certain things that happened, and with people surrounding me who I thought were very important to my life, and came to turn around and miss my mother, and really try to help her to have as good a life as possible. Sometimes you just don't see the other side of the coin. So anyway, uh, I saw Victor Stone who moved from I don't need anybody to pretty much like Aquaman to someone who was there for Aquaman. Was a guy who was there for uh, the team to be able to use his gifts. We saw him move from someone who, even through his father's instruction, about how to not use your gifts and how to use them for the benefit of other people. We see him move from a guy who was broken, pretty much, to a guy who's saying, "I'm not broken and I'm not alone." So that's pretty cool to see his evolution. And similarly with Flash, because I think Flash was also in that segment somewhere. Or was he? Yes, he was. He we see Flash uh, having his relationship with his father. His father saying that, dude, you're keeping back yourself and you're living in the past and you need to create your own future. And, he's talking about how he's brilliant and everything. And we see that again recapped where the Flash takes his words to heart and the Flash ends up, doing an astonishing thing by reversing time because he moves faster than the speed of light. And as a result of that, he makes his own future, right?
He doesn't live in the past. He makes his own future by going into the past. It's crazy. And again, what we see is we see the impact that the parents have on their children, right? You listen to the mother when she's speaking to the son and saying, I can't wait to see what great things you will do before she just gets into an accident. We see his father expressing the very same sentiments. You know, your capabilities is the tip of the tip. Both parents, well, you know, his father, unfortunately, I guess his mother was like the spokesperson for his father's sentiments. And she said this. She said, your father's very proud of you. Just like me, he's very proud of you. Um, it's just that he never heard his father say those things about him because his father's like this distant person to him. But it's, you know, I've seen people like that. I've seen people who would use other people to speak through those other people to the person. And what they never get is, listen, I want you to speak with me. I don't want you speaking through other people to speak with me, right? You want the person to speak to you, not through somebody else to you, right? You want direct access to that person. And that's what happened with Victor. Victor wanted direct access to his father. But then at the point in time when his father really wanted to directly speak to Victor, there was so much resentment Victor had for the fact that his mother died to Silas that, you know, Silas couldn't reach him. And then Silas wasn't going to waste that time. He was going to put a recording down and he go back to work because he's used to that. He's comfortable working and just doing what he does, drowning himself in his work, immersing himself in his work. You know, whereas Eleanor was the one who was like the go-between, which is kind of sad, but it is what it is. Some people, you know, just they can't really deal with it, so they're like, you know, could you handle this, Eleanor? Could you handle, you know? So that probably was their arrangement. Um, and you know, it's tough because that's life. Not everybody is there for their children all the time. Not everybody is really, how should I say, they're good parents all the time or great parents. Parenting is an uncharted territory, just like how, you know, this DC universe is uncharted territory. Similarly, parenting is an uncharted territory. You learn as you go. And Victor was their only child. And Silas looked like he was more of a career person than he was, you know, a family man. Didn't seem to be much of a family man. I mean, you had pictures of them together, you know. And you know how devastating it can be when your dad or one of your parents promise you something, it doesn't, you know, they can't deliver. It's very disheartening, especially when you have it time and time again. It's heartbreaking. And you could see Victor was breaking up into tears, you know, when his mother's trying to make apologies for his dad. And his dad, in the meantime, has got this great major research he's doing on, you know, the Kryptonian metals and what this could mean, the consequences with it. So it is what it is. However, Cyborg is distant to his father. Flash is distant to his father by minimizing the time he has with his father. It's crazy. Cyborg is distant from his father through space. His father's never there for him. Cyborg ends up being someone who can access anything digital. There's no place you can run and hide from. Whereas the Flash, he's limited by the time he has with his father. The time he has with his father. And so what ends up happening is that he goes and he attains these powers where he can manipulate time. Isn't that kind of crazy? I just thought about that. Gotta eat some chips. Yes, people, I do really want to hear you guys' opinions on these things. And like I said before, we're going all the way to God knows when. And this thing may quit on me, but I don't care. We're talking about beloved mother, beloved son. We learned that the Flash's mother, Nora Allen, was murdered. And Henry Allen ends up being incarcerated for a murder he did not commit. At a time when the Flash and Cyborg lose their mothers, Cyborg is unforgiving of her father, driving a wedge of distance between them, whereas the Flash is trying to get redemption for his father. These counterpoints. Flash's father is trying to get Flash to move on with his life because he thinks it's pointless trying to get redemption. Whereas Cyborg is the one that does not want to redeem his father. Who is trying to get Cyborg to let go of that hate so he can free himself from his depression and carry on with his life. Both fathers want to see their children carry on with their lives. Now, both children have a beloved mother. But here's the thing. Beloved mother, beloved son is a theme because both fathers love the mother and the son. And that theme is not from the perspective of Cyborg or Flash, but actually from the perspective of their fathers and husbands. When we listen to the philosophy of Flash in that segment, it's influenced by his father's philosophy. And when we had the philosophy of Cyborg in that segment, it is actually Silas Stone's philosophy. Just like with Man of Steel, Jarrell and Jonathan, we've come back and as recap, Superman walks through the Kryptonian ship to get the black suit. Similarly here, we see the perspective of Silas and Henry Allen. Because when you really pay attention, the bit with Cyborg, all his powers and his responsibility for using those powers, is narrated by Silas. But when it comes to Silas's personal feelings of Cyborg as a father, which is in the epilogue, A Father Twice Over, Cyborg doesn't want to hear it. Similarly, when Henry Allen is expressing his genuine feelings to Barry, Barry doesn't want to hear it. Henry, on the other hand, is quite pessimistic, not very hopeful. He wants his son to be free of him so he can carry on with his life. On the other hand, Silas can see the potential and is extremely hopeful for the cyborg Victor Stone, his son. However, while Victor was very much listening to Silas as a scientist, as he explored his limits and his potential, he was unwilling to listen to Silas as a father, even though 2 times he gave birth to Victor. Understand, we never chose to come into this world. Similarly, Victor didn't choose for Silas Stone to bring him back into the world and let him live. That's why Silas said twice your father. Victor came to appreciate what he could offer the world, which is why when he confronted the mother boxes, he said, I'm not broken and I'm not alone. It's interesting that the 2 youngest members of the Justice League have fallen into the dynamic of beloved mother, beloved son. Now, we didn't get a lot of details into Henry Allen's love of his wife. And there wasn't much details as to Barry Allen trying to save his mother's life or undo the past. Maybe we'll get that in the Flash movie. But with respect to Cyborg, we saw his relationship with his mom and the tragedy that happened. And we saw Silas's angst that he lost both his mother, his wife, and then he had the possibility of losing his son. And that's where the beloved mother, beloved son comes from, I believe, the motif. Now, it's really weird, but spiritually speaking, coming from a spiritual perspective, this goes, and it's interesting that it's titled that way. This goes to also mother and son when it comes to us collectively being seen as a mother or a wife, and us individually as sons. and seen from a father's perspective, which would be a deity like God, God-like figure. Um, and it goes both ways. It goes similarly with Darth Side and Granny Goodness Desaad, Steppenwolf. Steppenwolf being, ironically, though he's the uncle, the son, and Dark Side being the father figure. Even though Steppenwolf is older than Dark Side. I thought there's also another additional dimension to the equation that maybe some people didn't see. But that segment, I think, mostly elucidated the relationships between Harry Allen and the Flash, even though we were introduced to the Flash as well and his powers and all of that stuff. And also Silas Stone and Victor Stone. I just thought that was something that I would highlight because I don't know what kind of dynamic you guys had with your parents, with your father particularly, or sons. But my dynamic with my dad was sort of an up and down one as well, in which we spoke as friends, yet at times, particularly we would get into arguments continuously. So I had a relationship with him where sometimes it would start off very amicably, but it would end in an argument. And then at times, at times the relationship was one which it was very clashing. Just what it is, I guess. Do I miss my father? Absolutely. You know. And everything Silas did was always for the benefit. Well, it wasn't always for the benefit, but ultimately it became for the benefit of his son. Right? Anyway, in that segment, we had the underground battle scene with Steppenwolf. We had Aquaman coming to join the team. We had Silas being abducted. All of a sudden, now, even though Victor had resentment towards his father, as soon as his father was abducted, that's when, because Victor starts to see the value in his father. As his father breaks down, what he could do and the challenges he would face as having these potential responsibilities and powers, right? And while he doesn't want to hear him address him as a father, and he's still very snide with him. When his father is removed from the equation, when his father is kidnapped, all of a sudden Victor, starts to see his father in a different way. And it's interesting because during that portion of time when he sees Steppenwolf threatening his father and his father's life, that's when he really springs into action. And with reckless abandon, he starts to attack Steppenwolf and he launches in to save his father. And it's funny because, on one hand, the Flash is trying to save his father, right? And it's been taking years to do so. But Cyborg is able to deliver his father from Steppenwolf in almost a moment's notice. He's capable of doing that. And from there, when he rescues his father, moves him out of the building because his father was his priority. His team went out the window. Wonder Woman was handling the parademon and protecting Cyborg, but ultimately Cyborg wasn't even focusing on that. Batman was drawing the attention of the parademons away from Cyborg. Wonder Woman was occupying Steppenwolf. And Cyborg and the Flash was leading the people out. And it was very interesting that he got that opportunity to speak with his father. His father was like, I didn't know if you would come to, protect me. And he was like, you're my father. And I thought that was very interesting, to say the least, that it just took removing his father and him losing his father for him to realize how important his father was to him. And at least he had the opportunity to know that before he ultimately lost his father. But by that time, he had, he was part of this team of people. In a way, by being a part of a group of people, you can process your problems a lot more easily than if you're just alone. And a lot of times we think we're alone and we're dealing with issues that are sold to ourselves. But as Cyborg realized, Wonder Woman shared in the same sort of difficulties, with the loss of Steve Trevor. And so just her dialogue with him, she kind of knew it would take him a little while to get on board. She didn't expect it to be that soon, though, that quickly, but it took her a little while to get on board with it. All right, so just throwing this in here that you can still join in the discussion, because it's always nice to talk with someone else on these things. The back and forth is much better than just singly talking about them. Now, notice, I'm not really speaking about specific things and going all comic booky on this. No. I'm speaking on 3 specific things, right? How the character is in that particular scene or whatever, and what they look like down the road, how they grew as a character, and also the spiritual aspect of both. So that's all. I'm not really specifically going into specifics and all of that because I'm still looking at the movie, and we can look at those, the movie making aspects and all those kinds of things later. But I'm just kind of like giving you an overview, of some of these characters and how they into, where they came from, where they, how they were going and that kind of thing. So yes, we talk about Cyborg. Yes, we talked about Flash in those moments and in those in that dynamic. And to be honest with you, I found that as gripping as Cyborg's dynamic was with his father, particularly the fact that he had to save his father, right? And then his father had to be decontaminated because of alien influence and all that, It's very interesting that the COVID thing kind of plays into that somewhat. But, after his father comes out and they're going back to doing what they're doing, working on this metal and, how the Kryptonian technology deals with certain lasers and frequencies of radiation, stuff like that. It was very interesting that, of course, Cyborg ends up manipulating the system, and the father's kind of figuring out this is a false alarm. And it's very interesting that once he realizes that it's his son that's principally responsible for that and is on some other mission, immediately changes his tune, right? Because he wants to protect his son. That same protective sort of approach is what Henry Allen was trying to do. He was trying to protect his son as well, which was very difficult to do because obviously Barry wasn't going to change his mind. But you see Cyborg not to his father, you see his father not to his son, as his father is there to protect his son. He lost his wife. She's gone. He loves her. She's gone. But he was not going to lose his son. And that relationship between Cyborg and his dad, that relation between Henry Allen and Barry Allen showed you that these fathers, as limited as they were in their influence for their children, tried to make the most of the situation with the knowledge they had. Henry Allen was trying to protect his son, but there was, of course, a missing communication. It happens all the time with parents and children, where there's this gulf. And sometimes the children are right. Like in this case, Barry Allen was right with his dad. His dad was trying to protect him by trying to get him to detach himself from the situation. Because his father didn't give him details about how he was being treated in prison. Because then Barry would have gone nuts. He's trying to protect his son from, and very similarly, Silas, once he sees that Victor is coming in with the team of heroes and Batman. And it's very funny about uh, Ryan Choi's thoughts about the mother box and its relationship to Batman. If he only knew. If he only knew. Now, obviously, what I'm talking about here, beloved mother, beloved son, it filters into Change Machine, right? Change Machine is where we're actually talking about this mother box thing. So I kind of jumped from uh, beloved mother, beloved son to just kind of gloss over the Change Machine. But the point is, Ryan Choi, he had been saying, you sure that Batman don't got nothing to do with, Object 965 something, something, I don't know what it was, 31965 or whatever it was. And, Victor was like, no. Silas was like, no. But clearly Batman ends up having something to do with that Change Machine, right? Now, we're going to Change Machine in a little bit more detail. But first, let me go back again here and encourage you guys to join as a guest on the stream. Join as a guest on the stream. You can click in on the link and let's talk some, right? Let's talk a little bit about Justice League, man. Let's talk about Zack Snyder's Justice League. I'm here, and I know you guys are going to come through. Because I know you guys want to talk about it. Yes, I know I just stepped away for a minute. I'll come back. I'm cooking some food, so I decided to step away for a minute. All right, so going back on what I was saying. Yeah. So change machine. Yeah. So of course we had the tunnel scene with Steppenwolf fighting the League, and he booms tunes out of there when he realizes that he can't get the mother box because while all this is going on, Steppenwolf was trying to access the mother box, right? And he talks about the scent of the mother box and how the parademons are following the scent of the mother box and so on. And we know that Cyborg or Victor Stone, he goes and he hides the mother box. Before he hides the mother box, however, Parademon almost came up and found him to take the mother box from him. But through this whole thing about Victor hiding the mother box and all of that stuff is the fact that the mother boxes, we learn, simply reorganize matter. They're change machines. They reorganize matter. That's what they do. So it's energy is not created or destroyed. The mother box, that's what they do. So they're called change machines. And because Victor being birthed from the mother boxes, he himself is somewhat like them. And we learn later on, through Victor explaining this, that Kryptonian technology and mother box technology, Silas Stone realized was very similar. And because of the way how the materials worked, Kryptonian technology can morph into different shapes and stuff like almost like liquid crystal, and so could the mother boxes. And again, he found out the properties of Kryptonian technology were very similar to the properties of the mother box technology, right? And we know, we heard the history lesson and everything, and how Silas was able to animate or bring re-energize Victor so Victor could exist, because Victor was on the verge of dying. And we saw that in BVS, and then we saw it again in a greater extent in Zack Snyder's Justice League. But the thing I want to talk about with regards to the mother box, because mother box is how you use the mother box, obviously, is how it can be used for good or for evil. Because obviously the mother box brought back Victor Stone, the mother box brought back Superman, right? So they can be used for good or for evil. Now, this is the weird thing. The mother boxes tried to contact other apocalyptians only after the fact Superman had died. I found that very interesting. I'll tell you why. After Jesus died, there was great persecution of his followers. There was the Dark Ages that came after as well, but mostly persecution of his followers. And I found that very interesting because that parallels what happened after Superman died. The Mother Boxers tried to usher in a darkened age. And there was a darkened age after Superman died, because we heard increases in terrorism and in crime. Right? And we saw one of those things in terms of the people talking about reviving the Dark Ages, one of the terrorists. I wish Snyder Cut had made a connection between the terrorist acts that were happening. The fact that the Mother Boxers were trying to usher in the Dark Age. Anyway. But here's the kicker. I find interesting. These things were change machines. And as I said before, based on the person who is using them, they can be used for good or for evil. When the Mother Boxes were synchronized, they blew up the whole entire world. We saw it happen. Flash, thankfully, was able to go back in time and reverse that. But they were very destructive. Right? It was termed cleanse the world. However, we saw them also transfer energy that Flash had generated to rejuvenate Superman and bring him back to life. And we saw that energy transfer also with Cyborg to bring him back to life. Almost like a mad Frankenstein story. Lightning bolt hits something and brings about Frankenstein, right? So the change machines operated according to the person who bid them. All right. So in short, that is like a personification or an animation of a procedure that can be used for good or for evil. These three change machines, also known as mother boxes, were united and synchronized to become a massive atomic bomb like to cleanse the earth. Or they could individually spark life into people by transfer of energy. We talk about agents of change. Sometimes called the movements. We have petitions online, change.org. Change can be constructive or can be destructive. Similarly, the mother boxes, which can rearrange matter and energy, can be constructive or they can be destructive. All right. Now, At the end of the movie, we see Cyborg separate the mother boxes with the aid of Superman from the inside out, right? The energy from the outside absorbs to the core of the mother boxes and makes them actually more energized. But from the inside, they can be de-energized, separated, or shut down, made inactive. Now, I remember Desaad saying something that was very distinctive. He said, now that the mother boxes are no longer, will you still go down to Earth or something like that? And Darkseid was like, the anti-life equation, I want that. And we'll just have to use the old ways. But the thing that got me was what Desaad was saying about the mother boxes. How he was saying that it's like they were destroyed. I think he used the word destroyed, actually. But the mother boxes weren't destroyed. They were deactivated. That's all. And because Superman is alive, they probably wouldn't stay activated, right? But why would Desaad say destroyed? Was he trying to lie? Or was it that he was saying that there would be no use to them at the moment? Well, no, Darkseid knows where he has to go. He had lost track of where he had to go the first time when the mother boxes shut off and he had to make a hasty retreat. But this time he knew planet Earth is the place, this unknown planet where they got resistance. So he's deciding to go down with an armada and attack Earth in all his glory and splendor. But the change machines wouldn't be part of that. Now we all know the change machines are responsible for boom tubes and boom tubes opening. And something that Cyborg actually described about them led me to understand why in the final act, Steppenwolf was not anticipating Darkseid coming through. In their change machines, yes, that's the mother boxes. And yes, Darkseid said, after you scorch the earth with the mother boxes, I will come to get my great prize. But Steppenwolf didn't think that he would live to see Darkseid come to Earth, because you say, you come to Earth? Because remember, Steppenwolf was supposed to scorch the Earth first. So he was absolutely elated when he heard that, Darkseid was coming, or Darkseid had appeared. But obviously Darkseid, even though the boom tube was open and everything, he stayed on Apocalypse set. Now, the change engines, or the mother boxes, were the ones that opened the boom tube for Darkseid to come. Apparently, they communicated with Darkseid, and so that's why that boom tube opened, because it wasn't open because of something on Darkseid. I didn't see any mother boxes on his end to open a boom tube. Maybe, of course, he probably has abundance of mother boxes. Nonetheless, I digress. The point is that these change engines were able to communicate with their former owners and open up boom tubes. And they also seem to be aware when the power has shifted, and, so I just found that pretty interesting, that they're sort of living sentient things that were receptive to the environment around them. They're aware of the environment around them. How exactly, I don't know. All right. So what does that have to do with any spiritual something? Well, I don't know where Kirby sourced his inspiration from, but I can tell you that it was interesting listening to the explanation of that and the fact that there can be a uniting of people who want change. It can be a uniting for evil, or it could be a uniting for good. And we're talking about systems of change. So people, okay, so a system of change in and of itself is not a bad thing. But depending on who is running that system gets whatever change. Right? So uniting different systems of change make them even more effective. If it's towards destruction, then it can accelerate destruction. But if it is to construction, it can accelerate construction. Throughout this movie, the theme of unity keeps on popping up over and over again. Over and over again. We see uniting for evil, and we also see uniting for good. Which is awesome. And systems of change, or change machines, I guess, is something that neither is good or evil, but in certain hands it can be good or evil. It depends on who's actually running it. It's like guns. Guns in and of themselves are not bad. So that's why I don't really talk negatively about systems and things, or even understanding, because it could be something that is beneficial if used with the right uh, objective in mind or goal. So I'm very slow to criticize systems and operations to get to a certain outcome. Very slow to do that. Now, I didn't reach as far as All the King's Horses. I did watch the movie a couple times, but I haven't gone through All the King's Horses, All the King's Men. Now, it has to do with the League for Steppenwolf. They're returning back to Alfred. Alfred's questing Bruce Wayne on using Superman and bringing back Superman to help them fight Steppenwolf. But remember that this also was something that Flash expressed when they actually faced Steppenwolf in the tunnel, which was Flash was saying, man, this is one time where we really do need Superman. Wish he was here. You know? And it really is telling that Bruce Wayne feels the same way. And Bruce is like, this red cape, fight back. Oh, it resurrects Superman. So this is the part where people say this deviates from the Christocentric theme. Hmm, I don't know. All I can tell you is, collectively and individually, the League just couldn't stop Superman. He had to be on board. They had to get him on board. And it took Louis Lane, like I heard before, to get them all on board. It's interesting he talks about King's horses, because this is a callback to not just Humpty Dumpty, but King Arthur again. Excalibur. And of course, Cyborg actualizes his full potential. He told him the ship it wanted to fly, and he made sure that the ship got its wish and was able to fly. And it's interesting how Bruce literally translates the protection Cyborg has to Cyborg. He says, so do you. You always wanted to fly. You're flying, brother. You're flying. And this is where Batman talks about faith. Of course, the solemnity of the situation is can't be overstated. You know? It leads us to something darker. Batman believes it's more than just Louis Lane being the key to Superman. There's something darker that made that situation worse, which is correct. Superman succumbs to the anti-life equation of dark side, right? Because Louis Lane is killed. And we know this from the apocalyptic scene between Joker and Batman. Joker actually says what's great about something darker It's all roads lead to dark side. Um, Steppenwolf succeeds in getting the third box. Right? And we know Silent Storm basically heat up its core so the Justice League could track it. Losing his life in the process. Sacrificing himself so the world could live. And Cyborg had premonition of this in all the King's forces. Sorry. The Earth would blow up. Dark side would come down. Here's the anti-life equation of Superman. He would kill out the Justice League. Wonder Woman would be slain. Huh? So Aquaman. And we see it's the Kryptonian ship that's saying this is what will happen now. We set things in motion for this. I tried to resurrect. Why they offset a lot. The fact that Lois Lane gets killed. Apparently, Lois was suffered as well. Lead us to wonder, and Jackson has new take. How has Batman allowed Lois Lane to get killed? Why didn't he protect her? That's the question. That can only be known just as we do. But something darker shows us Steppenwolf's plan almost to completion. What I never understood was what was Steppenwolf on the Paradigms going to do when the Unity locked in and blew up the whole entire world? I mean, where were they going to go? Are they going to boom tube out of Earth and back in? I thought about that. Steppenwolf kind of had his wish. The world got blown up, but then the Flash reversed everything. And all this Darkseid was watching. And of course, there were so many crazy things that happened there. You had Flash running back through time, just dope, faster the speed of light, fulfilling the words of his father. We had Cyborg being tested inside of the mother boxes, not being fooled at all, because the premises were wrong. You had Batman and Wonder Woman and Aquaman doing the hard labor. We saw a shot of the League together. All these things, just great fan service. Mm-hmm. But ultimately, the thing that made this segment what it was the words that, to me, Hippolyta kept on saying, that evil never sleeps. It waits to come back better and stronger. And we hear Darkseid say that they're going to mount an armada to go towards Earth. And of course, we get the epilogue, Father Twice Over, where Batman has that nightmare of Superman going rogue and post-apocalyptic times, which Flash warned him of. And Martian Manhunter is there to join the team and push back Darkseid whenever he comes. And they would need all the help they can get. And basically Bruce Wayne said that. You know what was interesting to me also was when Diana says, "and room for more," and Bruce says, "God help us." Pretty funny. But basically, Cyborg finally listens to what his dad says. He rearranges matter and fixes back the tape player. That's a tape player. Those of you who don't know what that is. And he plays it, and on the tape player, his father's talking about how proud he is of him, how much he, wish he could be there, but he wasn't the greatest father in the world. And then he talks about how Cyborg could step out the shadows pretty much and be among the brave ones. Yeah. And a very, very emotional, encouraging talk his father gave to him. Some of the really sad moments. There was another sweet moment between Iris West. The scene with Iris West was a really sweet one. Another moment in the movie, which was surprisingly sweet, even though I think it was pretty violent, was the moment with Superman and Lois Lane. That wasn't very loud. On the kid farm, and Lois Lane breaking down to him what happened, and then the uniting of Superman and his mom particularly was just fantastic. Again, his mom-son dynamic, the beloved mother, beloved son dynamic came back to play there. And throughout this movie, we're seeing things from father's perspective. It was interesting just listening to Cyborg be inspired by his dad and what his dad was saying to him as a father. And of course, the movie ends with Silas Stone's comments, really, and we see Aquaman returning to Volko. Wonder Woman, she's carrying over into the sea. We see Batman and Clark, and Clark gets back to the farm for his mom, and Bruce helps with that. And, we see the Justice League being formed, the Hall of Justice. A lot of very constructive, positive things. Barry's free after he gets the job, the position, and his dad is all nuts happy. And Barry's running the streets free, and just living the dream, I guess. But I think what really makes the movie, I believe, is the fact that these heroes didn't just overcome, but they went past the crucible. They went past, they had sacrifice to get where they were. Sacrifice again, just like how Superman sacrificed his life. You know, we had Barry who had to sacrifice everything to get to Victor. And Victor, he lost a lot. He sacrificed a lot to get where he was at. Of course, Gal sacrificed her life, Themyscira, to live in the world that we live in. And Bruce, oh, he sacrificed everything, including, well, not his life, but everything else. He gave his all. He put his life on the line to make sure that Superman could be there, that beacon of hope could be there. So, you know, that's what makes these stories so convincing. It's the sacrifices of the individuals, not just a setback, and but a sacrifice. And so I thought that the epilogue, Father Twice Over, was very nice as well, and of course, it led into the crappy job that Batman did as a father, and Robin, and Joker reminding him of that, and he's leading a group, and it looks like the group's about to get assassinated by Superman, and Joker's just laughing hysterically. And it's just one of those things where Zack keeps on juxtaposing one thing and the opposite of it, I thought, and it was fantastic. But of course, I'm looking forward to Justice League 2. Oh yeah, hell yeah. I'm looking forward to Justice League 2. All right, so let's get into, I talked about the spirituality basically of Zack Snyder's DCEU, from Man of Steel to Zack Snyder's Justice League Part 1. And I would ask the question to each one of you guys, because this is more what you fans will want to hear. When you're talking about ranking Zack Snyder's Justice League among all of the comic book movies and the DCEU, where do you rank it? Do you rank it at, do you think it's ranked higher than, say, for example, Avengers Infinity Endgame, Avengers Infinity War or Endgame, or do you think it's higher ranked than, say, for instance, Avatar, or is it higher ranked than, say, for instance, Split or Glass or Unbreakable? Do you think it's ranked higher than, say, for instance, Christopher Nolan's Dark Knight, or maybe Christopher Nolan's Batman Begins, or Christopher Nolan's Dark Knight Rises? I mean, where do you rank Zack Snyder's Justice League after seeing it? And I got another one for you. With respect to Zack Snyder's trilogy, Zack Snyder's DCU trilogy, where do you rank that trilogy in all of the trilogy? Of course, it's not going to be a trilogy, but when all is said and done, we'll have 5 parts to it. But where do you rank the trilogy as it stands now? And when I talk about trilogy, when I say Batman v Superman, I'm not talking about the theatrical cut. I'm also talking about the Ultimate Edition, and of course, Man of Steel. So, Man of Steel, Batman v Superman, Ultimate Edition, and Zack Snyder's Justice League. Where do you rank that trilogy in all rankings when it comes to comic book movies, or even movies in general? I would love to hear your response to that, people. Again, just invite to each one of you. You can join as a guest here. There's a link. It's down below in the chat area. I love to bounce ideas off of you guys. So let's go. It's 9:31 in the night. Now, I want to talk about something else here. We're talking about Restore the Snyderverse. Zack Snyder's Justice League trilogy, we want to see it completed and so much more. We want to see the air cut. We want to see, we want to see Batman movie. or Batman series. We want to see with Joe Malinagi. Of course, we want to see a cyborg film. So at the end of this film, there's a lot of things. It sets up a lot of things, and I think that I want to hear from you guys as fans. Um, First of all, are you in favor of the Snyderverse being restored? And is it cool if it's restored on HBO Max? And is it cool if it is a series? I was talking with the Damian Anton Vincent early on today, and it was the same thing I was asking. I was asking about would you restore it as a movie? I think a lot of people want to see it in IMAX theaters and stuff as a movie and on HBO Max. I really love the 4:3 screen because to me, you get so much more. You see so much more. Of course, I would love to see it on a big television. And I was just last night, by my friend's house, and they had a massive television. I just didn't bring my phone. I probably, everything, it's rated R and everything. I don't know. They have children and stuff. But, it's just one of the most emotional movies I've ever had to watch in a long time. I mean, this movie resonated with me in so many different ways. It was very special to me. And I just wanted to go through these different things here. Also, I want to just shout out to the Snyder Cut movement and AFSP, the people who are supporting American Foundation for Suicide Prevention. I think that's a beautiful thing, as well as Feeding America, and also for fostering the creative sides of fans. And of course, I have a video that's coming out that will cover all of that stuff. And okay, I'm just overwhelmed that the movement and all of this has happened, and it's come to this point. Another thing I want to hear about you guys. What do you think of the critics' critical scores for this film? If I was to look at the critics' critical scores, hold on a second. Okay, so Zack Snyder's Justice League are critically at this point in time. Okay. Yes, critically at this point in time, Zack Snyder's Justice League stands at 74%. Okay, that's after 213 people have critically evaluated the movie. So I guess critics see the movie differently. Some critics, at least, have changed their minds about Zack Snyder's work. Some people say it's his best work to date. This is what it is. What is your rating for Zack Snyder's Justice League? So you will let me know that in the comment section below. as well. And that brings me to the end of this chat. Basically, um, I think it's a call to restore the Snyderverse that we're seeing. This weekend's tallies and totals should be up and running very soon. But we have 20,000 plus people who have actually rated this movie. So that's quite a lot of people already that rated the movie. We'll see how it goes all in all, or at least the people who went to Rotten Tomatoes. All in all, and what the scores and everything will end up being. It's 96% with the audience. So most audience members absolutely enjoyed it. Well, that brings us to the end of this segment here. If you guys have anything extra you want to talk about, we can talk about it. But as of now, I just wanted to go through some of this stuff. Some of it wasn't as exciting as it would be if I was actually talking with someone else, but it's all good. Um, I like I said, me personally, I immensely enjoyed the movie. It was very much an emotional experience for me, and it makes me want to value people more. You know, as much as the movie was graphic and violent, I thought the more tender moments of the movie actually were the ones that really truly appealed to me. Um, but I haven't fully taken in the movie, so that's why some of the cogs and details of the movie I don't have fully there with you. But I do recollect quite a lot of the movie, and I'm going back to watch the movie right now after I come off the stream. But I hope you guys have a good one this week. Life is like that where you have ups and downs and challenges all the time, and things are just very unpredictable. And so that's how it is. And I always say to people, just value people that you have and use the time you have. Don't take anything for granted. That's all. That's all we could ask for. That's all we could ask for. So I'm gonna catch you guys later. I am Christ. I am disciple, aka Anson Phillip, and this was a discussion on Zack Snyder's Justice League. It was mostly by me for the remaining 2 hours and something. Um, it was just me discussing the film. I do want to spend some more time with you guys talking about the film, but that would be based on if you guys are going to respond to me at all at this point in time. If not, it's not a problem. So if there's anything extra you guys want to talk about, we can talk about it right now in Zack Snyder's Justice League. Otherwise, I'm going to sign out right here. Okay, people. So I will catch you guys later. I am Christ, I am disciple. You guys have a blessed night and a blessed week. Peace.